Chapter 195. The left prince of the Tang Empire, Chu Chaosheng, held great power in the Tang Empire. It could even be said that his power was second only to the other members of the royal family. It was a pity that he had yet to step into the legendary realm of oneness of heaven and man, otherwise it would be troublesome for Long Yu. As the crowd discussed softly, everyone turned their attention to the entrance of the imperial dojo. Then, they saw a group of people surrounding a middle-aged man in a royal robe. This middle-aged man was wearing a golden royal robe. He had an arrogant posture and was the best among the crowd. A faint smile hung on his mature and charming face, as if everything in the world was under his control. Chu Chaosheng was originally a collateral descendant of the Chu family. If it wasn't for his high talent in martial arts, he would have been a young prince by now. He would never have become an honorable existence like the left prince. Moreover, it was useless to just have a high talent in martial arts. Chu Chaosheng's most commendable trait was his intelligence. As a member of the royal family, Chu Chaosheng had extraordinary intelligence since he was young. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to reach his current position. Along the way, he had experienced too much. He had gotten rid of external and internal enemies, such as Long Zaiyan and Man Xian. Long Yu realized that as soon as Chu Chaosheng entered the imperial dojo, the first thing he did was look at him. There was a hint of playfulness in that look. It seemed that Chu Chaosheng was quite interested in the current Long Yu. He had given the Long Yu golden pill to Long Yu. However, although Long Yu had consumed it, he wasn't affected by the mind grasping grass in the Long Yu golden pill. Instead, he had directly advanced by relying on the Long Yu golden pill. This made Chu Chaosheng even more interested in Long Yu. He was sure that Long Yu definitely had a secret that he didn't know about. Chu Chaosheng's look made Long Yu wary. However, he wasn't afraid of anything. Long Yu knew very well that to Chu Chaosheng, weakening the seven sects through the seven-sect competition was much more important than getting rid of Long Yu. Chu Chaosheng definitely wouldn't have the time to deal with him for now. Long Su and the imperial princess. Long Yu then saw that behind Chu Chaosheng, Long Su and the imperial princess in a snow-white silk robe had also arrived at the imperial army fighting field. It seemed like the martial arts competition of the seven sects was indeed something that the entire Tang Empire would pay attention to. At this moment, the imperial princess had come with Chu Chaosheng. Her motive was obvious. She definitely wanted to restrain Chu Chaosheng and prevent him from acting recklessly in this place. Although the imperial princess's martial arts realm was not high, the identity she represented made Chu Chaosheng not dare to act recklessly. Chu Chaosheng, along with Long Su and Chu Feng, quickly arrived at the largest spectator stand in the middle. He sat down in the middle, and immediately after, Chu Chaosheng opened his mouth and announced the start of the martial competition of the seven sects. The seven-sect martial competition has a long history in the Tang Empire. It has always been a place for the younger generation of the seven sects to compete. In the past martial competitions of the seven sects, generation after generation of powerhouses emerged and became the pillars of my great Tang Empire. After a series of superfluous words, Chu Chaosheng quickly explained the rules of the martial competition of the seven sects. His voice was very magnetic and contained boundless appeal. As soon as he spoke, everyone in the field stopped whispering. The martial competition of the seven sects will last for nearly a month and will be divided into 2 rounds. The first round will be a free-for-all, while the second round will be a one-on-one battle between the strong. Chu Chaosheng looked around and explained the rules of the martial competition of the seven sects. In a free-for-all, all the disciples of the seven sects who are at the same martial Dao realm will gather together for a free-for-all. In the end, 1/7 of the disciples will be able to obtain a certain number of martial arrows for their respective sects. Through Chu Chaosheng's explanation, everyone quickly understood the rules of the martial competition of the seven sects. The martial arrows were used to calculate the performance of the various sects in the martial competition of the seven sects. The more martial arrows a sect obtained, the better their performance. The final ranking would definitely be determined by the number of martial arrows. In the first round of the free-for-all, all the disciples of the 8th stage of the martial path from the 7 sects would fight together. If they lost their ability to fight or admitted defeat, they would be eliminated until there was only 1/7 of them left. For example, there would be a total of 70 disciples of the 8th stage of the martial path from the 7 sects participating in the free-for-all. In the end, the 10 people standing on the field would obtain a martial arrow for their respective sections. In the second round of the free-for-all, the disciples of the 9th stage of the martial path would compete. In the third round, the disciples of the 1st stage of the true spirit realm would compete, and so on. Because Yu Qianing was the only disciple under the age of 25 who was in the 5th stage of the true spirit realm, there would be a total of 6 battles in the free-for-all, 1 every 2 days. The victors of the first round would obtain a martial arrow for their sects, 2 for the second round, 3 for the third round, and so on. In order to be fair, Yu Qianing, the only disciple in the 5th stage of the martial path, would not participate in the free-for-all. However, she would be able to obtain 7 martial arrows for the Thousand Thread sect. With Yu Qianing, the Thousand Thread sect would be in the lead with 7 martial arrows right from the start. Even if the other 6 sects had any objections, they wouldn't voice it out. This was because Yu Qianing's cultivation had reached the 5th stage of the true spirit realm, so it was only natural for the Thousand Thread sect to obtain 7 martial arrows. After the free-for-all, it was time for the experts to compete. The rules of the expert competition were a little complicated, so Chu Chaosheng didn't explain it. Long Yu only knew that if the disciples wanted to participate in the experts competition, they would have to stand until the end of the free-for-all. The free-for-all tested the overall strength of the disciples of the 7 sections. As for the competition of experts, it was a competition of the peak strength of the young disciples of the 7 major sections. Only the true experts could win the martial arts competition for their respective sects at this stage. Long Yu was sure that at this stage, he, Yu Qianing, and the other expert from the various sects would have a winner. It's not just a competition between the strongest. Those in the 8th and 9th stage of the martial path can also win glory for their sects, but Long Yu narrowed his eyes as he thought to himself. If that was the case, was Chu Chaosheng really confident that the Thousand Thread sect would win? Without a doubt, Chu Chaosheng had arranged something for the Thousand Thread sect to display greater strength. As for what Chu Chaosheng had planned, no one could imagine it. They could only wait until the battle started. Now, let's begin the first round of the free-for-all. All disciples in the 8th stage of the martial path of the 7 sects, get ready to step onto the Imperial Army martial field. Chu Chaosheng waved his hand and smiled. The Imperial Army martial field is the training ground of the Imperial Army. It's your honor to step onto the Imperial Army martial field. Honor. It was indeed an honor. Participating in the martial competition would make one famous in the entire Great Tang country. After this, the names of the outstanding youths would definitely spread across the entire Great Tang country. Unfortunately, Chu Chaosheng's scheme was involved in the martial competition of the 7 sects this time, causing many people to lose the feeling of honor, and there was only the hot blood of wanting to fight and kill. You must be careful. If you feel that you can't do it, immediately get off the stage and admit defeat. Don't let others take your life. Ling Han solemnly instructed Ling Yu from not far away from Long Yu. Ling Yu happened to be in the 8th stage of the martial path and would participate in the first round of the free-for-all. The first round had the most participants. The Jintian clan alone had 11 disciples in the 8th stage of the martial path. Today, they were the main characters. Ling Yu was one of them. The Jintian clan situation wasn't looking good. In such a chaotic battle, only the Frost sect was a firm ally. The other 5 sects could be enemies. The Qingcheng Pavilion might not target the Jintian clan too much, but the disciples of the Hidden Fire Hall and the Broken Blade sect would definitely not show mercy to the Jintian clan. Life was the most precious thing. Even if they couldn't defeat their opponents, it would be considered a success as long as they could stay alive. Senior brother Ling, don't worry. We will definitely protect junior sister Ling. The other disciples in the 8th stage of the martial path from the Jintian clan immediately stood up and said to Ling Han, in such a chaotic battle, unity was the most important thing. Only by being united could they win in the end. Brother, don't worry. Although I'm not strong, I won't drag the sect down. Ling Yu might be a young girl, but her eyes were filled with determination. At this moment, perhaps only one martial arrow was left to decide the ownership of the sect's cultivation method. Even though Ling Yu was only in the 8th stage of the martial path, she wouldn't easily retreat when she could do her part. Be careful. Ling Han nodded, but his eyes were still filled with worry. Compared to the other disciples in the 8th stage of the martial path, Ling Yu was really young. One had to know that some disciples in the 8th stage of the martial path were already in their mid-20s. Although they were all in the 8th stage of the martial path, their combat experience was much richer. The 8th stage of the martial path was mainly a competition of martial skills. The battles at this stage could be said to be simple and crude, especially in such a chaotic battle. One careless mistake could cost one their life. Of course, the purpose of the 7th sect martial competition was for the disciples of the 7 sects to learn from each other and improve together. Therefore, the act of taking someone's life would undoubtedly cause a huge conflict between the sects. It would undoubtedly be excellent if one could drive the opponent off the stage without killing them. However, in a chaotic battle, such opportunities were too rare. If one wanted to live, they could only rely on themselves. The battle of the 8th stage of the martial path was about to begin. In the preparation stage, everyone was carefully observing the candidates of the other sections. The Jintian clan had a total of 11 people. The other 7 sects had about 10 disciples in the 8th stage of the martial path. Adding the 7 sects together, there were exactly 77 people in the 8th stage of the martial path. In other words, there would be 11 people who could win this round and release 11 martial arrows. Which sects would be able to split the 11 martial arrows? Chapter 196. Before entering the arena, Bai Yunzong said a few words to Ling Yue and the other disciples of the 8th stage martial path before letting them enter the arena. When a total of 77 8th stage martial path disciples walked onto the Imperial Army martial field, everyone's eyes were focused on them. Many people's palms began to sweat as they became nervous. It was the first time in many people's lives that they had fought in such an environment. The people who were watching the battle all held high positions in the entire Tang Empire. If they could catch their eye, it would be another way for them to develop in the future. Very quickly, the 77 people were gathered in 7 different directions in the Imperial Army battlefield, looking at the disciples of the other sects with vigilance. Let's begin. With Chu Chaoxing's order, the first round of the martial competition of the 7 sects began. The atmosphere in the Imperial Army dojo became heavy, as if there were layers of dark clouds shrouding the heads of many participating disciples. Kill! The disciples of the Rain Sword sect were the first to attack. A group of 12 young swordsmen charged at the 10 disciples of the Thousand Thread sect. The Thousand Thread sect had obtained 7 martial competition arrows from the beginning, which made the Rain Sword sect quite unhappy. At this moment, the disciples of the Thousand Thread sect were their first targets. Attack! The disciples of the Hidden Fire Temple and the Broken Blade sect looked at each other and then charged at the Jintian clan disciples without hesitation. In an instant, the flames of war erupted. Help! The disciples of the Ice sect immediately rushed over and stood together with the disciples of the Jintian clan. In such a chaotic battle, forming an alliance was obviously the best way to obtain the greatest advantage. However, the reasons for forming an alliance were different. The Jintian clan and the Ice sect wanted to deal with the Thousand Thread sect together in an attempt to disrupt Chu Chaoxing's plan to weaken the 7 sections. As for the Hidden Fire Temple and the Broken Blade sect, they had the same enemy, the Jintian clan. The 7 sects had naturally had many conflicts with each other since they had developed to this point. Some conflicts were nothing and could be resolved peacefully. However, some conflicts had deep hatred that could not be resolved peacefully. For example, Long Yu had killed Huofu, the son of the Hidden Fire Hall's Hall Master. As long as Huofu's father, Hua Haishan, was still the Hall Master, the enmity between them would never be resolved. A chaotic battle immediately broke out. However, there was one sect's disciple who didn't get involved. It was the group of girls from the Qingqing Pavilion. The Rainfall Sword sect's disciples and the Thousand Thread sect disciples fought each other. Sword qis flew in all directions, and shadows wandered everywhere. As soon as they came into contact, the Thousand Thread sect's disciples turned into shadows and dispersed from the battlefield, causing most of the Rainfall Sword sect's disciples to pounce on empty air. Bang! Bang! The silhouettes of the Thousand Thread sect's disciples flickered as they wandered around the Imperial Army's dojo. They quickly inserted themselves into the chaotic battles of the other sects, causing the entire situation to become even more chaotic. When the falling Rainsword sect saw that the Thousand Thread sect's disciples were scattered, they didn't feel too conflicted. They thought that their deterrent force was too great and had scattered the Thousand Thread sect's disciples. Each of them wielded a sword and charged into the chaotic battle, wantonly unleashing sword qi. At this moment, there were a total of 77 disciples at the 8th stage of the martial path on the Imperial Army's dojo. Only by driving the other 66 people off the dojo would the battle end. As for the remaining 11 people, they would each be able to obtain a martial arrow for their sect. In the chaotic battle, the Thousand Thread sect's disciples were clearly targeting the Jintian clan's disciples. This greatly increased the pressure on the disciples of the Jintian clan and the Ice sect. The situation was extremely chaotic, but Ling Yue was indeed protected by many people in the center. We're at a disadvantage in numbers. We can't beat them. As time passed, 2 Jintian clan disciples had already been injured. They admitted defeat and left the dojo. The remaining Jintian clan disciples were also separated by the Thousand Thread sect's disciples in the chaos. Originally, Bai Yunzong had wanted to ally with the other sects to deal with the Thousand Thread sect, but he never expected that the Jintian clan would be the one being targeted. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for the Jintian clan disciples to remain standing until the end. Not long after, all the Jintian clan disciples, including Ling Yue, admitted defeat and left the dojo. No one died, only some were seriously injured. Of course, those who were injured would definitely be fine with the healing pills that Old Bai had prepared. However, in the first round of the chaotic battle, the Jintian clan had suffered a crushing defeat. The Ice sect's disciples weren't much better off because they were with the Jintian clan. They didn't last long before they all admitted defeat and left the dojo. This caused the Ice sect's disciples to feel dissatisfied. If they hadn't allied with the Jintian clan, they wouldn't have been targeted like this. However, the Ice sect's sect master, Tang Qin, didn't say anything about it. Allying with the Jintian clan was the best solution Tang Qin could think of. At the very least, it wasn't something that a single sect could do alone against the Thousand Thread sect. No matter what, in this chaotic battle, they just had to do their best to chase the Thousand Thread sect's disciples out of the dojo. However, because the Thousand Thread sect's disciples were agile and had cultivated some martial techniques that could control shadows, they could turn into shadows and escape. Their ability to survive was too strong. When the Jintian clan and the Ice sect's disciples were completely annihilated, only 3,000 Thread sect disciples admitted defeat. There were still 8,000 Thread sect disciples in the 8th level of the martial path. In the chaos, the Rainsword sect, Hidden Fire Hall, Broken Blade sect, and Qingqing Pavilion each only had about half of their people left. The Thousand Thread sect had the most people left. They're here to deal with the Thousand Thread sect. The remaining disciples of the 4 sects weren't idiots. They knew that the Thousand Thread sect was the biggest enemy in this 7-sect martial competition. Otherwise, their sects would be shaken. At this moment, they had finally joined forces to deal with the Thousand Thread sect disciples. A Rainsword sect disciple was chasing after the shadow of a Thousand Thread sect disciple. He kept swinging his sword qi. Suddenly, the Thousand Thread sect disciple's figure flashed, and the sword chi landed on the head of a Hidden Fire sect disciple. The Hidden Fire Hall disciple hurriedly retreated and cursed. "Who are you hitting?" "Humph." The Rain Sword sect disciple snorted coldly. He didn't care about the Hidden Fire Hall disciple at all. He was about to continue chasing after the Thousand Thread sect disciple. But the Hidden Fire Hall disciple was unhappy. "You almost injured me by accident, but you want to run away with a cold snort? Die." The Hidden Fire Hall disciple waved his hands, and flames burst out, instantly enveloping the Rain Sword sect disciple. The entire Imperial Army dojo was filled with such situations. Not long after, there were only 5,000 Thread sect disciples left. However, the other 4 sects only had 2 or 3 people left in the dojo. At this moment, the 1,000 Thread sect disciples finally joined forces again. They directly surrounded the remaining 3 Qingcheng Pavilion female disciples and forced them to admit defeat. There were finally 11 people left in the dojo, 5 from the 1,000 Thread sect, 2 from the Broken Blade sect, 2 from the Hidden Fire Hall, and 2 from the Rain Sword sect. There were a total of 11 people. The 1,000 Thread sect had the most people left in the dojo. They obtained 5 martial arrows for the 1,000 Thread sect. This was only the first round of the mixed battle, but the 1,000 Thread sect's martial arrows were already far ahead. The 12 martial arrows were 6 times more than the Broken Blade sect, the Hidden Fire Hall, and the Rain Sword sect. As for the Jintian clan, the Qingcheng Pavilion, and the Ice sect, they didn't even get a single martial arrow. This situation was undoubtedly out of everyone's expectations. The 1,000 Thread sect should have been targeted by everyone, but they had the most people left. This caused the disciples, elders, and sect leaders of the other 6 sects to have a shadow cast over their hearts. It seemed like their strategy in the first round was wrong, especially the Qingcheng Pavilion. Initially, they wanted to stay out of the battle and reap the benefits. However, they ended up the same as the Jintian clan and the Ice sect. They didn't even get a single martial arrow. This caused the pavilion master of the Qingcheng Pavilion, Feng Xiaoyue, to frown. Could it be that they still had to form an alliance with someone? Due to Chu Chaoxing's plan, Feng Xiaoyue should have formed an alliance with the Jintian clan to deal with the 1,000 Thread sect. However, the situation now was that the Jintian clan was being targeted. Forming an alliance with the Jintian clan might not be the right choice. To destroy Chu Chaoxing's plan, I just need to find a random sect that obtains more martial arrows than the 1,000 Thread sect, Feng Xiaoyue thought to herself. She raised her head and looked in the direction of the Jintian clan. Among the Jintian clan disciples, the strongest was at the LV4 True Spirit Realm, followed by Long Yu and Zhuge Jian, who were both at the LV3 True Spirit Realm. Although it was rumored that Long Yu could send Long Ji flying and severely injure him, Lu Yuan was there. Without Lu Yuan, Long Yu definitely wouldn't have been able to do it. Perhaps Lu Yuan played a key role? Feng Xiaoyue thought to herself. Overall, the Qingcheng Pavilion had 2 genius disciples at the LV4 True Spirit Realm, Lu Yuan and Bai Linsha. They had a great advantage. If Lu Yuan and Bai Linsha worked together and stood at the end of the 6th round, they could obtain 12 martial arrows. They might be able to surpass the 1,000 Thread sect. Moreover, the Qingcheng Pavilion had quite a number of disciples at the LV3 and LV2 True Spirit Realm. At least, they had more than the Jintian clan. Feng Xiaoyue thought that it was better to trust the Qingcheng Pavilion than the Jintian clan. I'll work with the Fire Hiding Temple to protect myself first. Then, we'll deal with the 1,000 Thread sect together. Feng Xiaoyue made up her mind. However, it could be seen that although the sect masters of the various sects had ordered them to deal with the 1,000 Thread sect together, there were still all sorts of accidents at the Forbidden Army's dojo, causing them to have conflicts with each other. They had to do their best to prevent this from happening again in the next round. Otherwise, if the 1,000 Thread sect won the next round, they would be unstoppable and the outcome would be set. Chu Chaoxing had set the next round for 2 days later. Feng Xiaoyue still had plenty of time to discuss cooperation with the Hidden Fire Temple and the Broken Blade sect. The first round of today's Battle Royale has come to an end. The martial arrows have been distributed to all the sections. Chu Chaosheng was very satisfied with today's result. No matter what happened next, at least the Thousand Thread sect had obtained an absolute advantage. It wasn't long before he controlled the 7 sects. The next round of the Battle Royale will be in 2 days. Please don't miss it. After Chu Chaosheng finished his sentence, he announced that it was time for everyone to leave. Long Yu stood up and followed by Zong and the others to leave. When he raised his head, he suddenly saw a group of people walking in his direction. The Long family of the general clan? Long Yu's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 197. A group of people from the Long family walked towards the Jintian clan under the lead of a middle-aged man in golden armor. The reason why Long Yu could recognize them was that the people from the Long family looked similar to him. It's the head of the Long family, Long Ruotian. Zong Yunzong's face darkened as he lowered his voice to inform Long Yu. The head of the Long family, Long Ruotian, wore golden armor and had a grave expression. He was extremely powerful. Although he had yet to reach the realm of one with heaven, he was definitely stronger than Zong Yunzong. Most importantly, Long Ruotian was the father of Long Su and Long Ji. To Long Yu, Long Ruotian was also his uncle, the elder brother of his father, Long Zaitian. At this moment, they were heading towards Long Yu. What did the one do to Long Yu? No matter what, Long Yu had injured his son, Long Ji. This matter had to be settled. Of course, due to the royal princess's face, this debt could not be settled. They could only find other reasons to cause trouble for Long Yu. Sect Leader Bai, how have you been? Long Ruotian brought the Long family disciples with him. A murderous aura enveloped the heads of all the Jintian clan disciples, making them shudder. Everyone in the Long family was a martial expert. They cultivated the Blood Dragon secret art, comprehended the laws of the Blood Dragon, and condensed the true spirit of the Blood Dragon. Their murderous aura was extremely dense. Even as he greeted Zong Yunzong, the middle-aged man in golden armor exuded an oppressive aura. This was a show of strength to Zong Yunzong. It was a pity that although Zong Yunzong's martial realm was lower than the other parties, he was not so easily frightened. He stroked his mustache and said calmly, "Head of the Long family, what can I do for you?" He emphasized the words head of the Long family. Obviously, he wanted to remind Long Ruotian how he had become the head of the Long family. If Long Zaiqian had not been chased away by Chu Chaosheng, how could the position of the Long family head have fallen into his hands? Unfortunately, Long Ruotian had been the family head for so many years. His emotions would not change just because of a few words from White Cloud Zone. He glanced sideways at Long Yu, who was in the Jintian clan, and said with killing intent, "This man is the son of a traitor of the Long clan. Sect Leader Bai, you should know that he will not be able to escape death." Son of a traitor? Can't escape death? Zong Bai Yun chuckled. Then why don't you try killing him? It was obvious that Bai Yunzong was certain that Long Ruotian wouldn't dare to make a move against Long Yu. Indeed, when Long Ruotian heard White Cloud Trace's words, he sneered, "There's no need for me to kill him. I'm here to deliver a message from my father. Long Yu, if you want to live, leave the Tang Empire as soon as possible." Long Ruotian's father. Long Yu thought to himself, "Isn't that my grandfather?" He had heard that his grandfather was the only one in the entire Long family who cared about him and helped him suppress the forces that wanted to kill him. But now, he had asked Long Ruotian to deliver such a warning to him. Without a doubt, it was impossible for Long Yu to leave the Tang Empire as soon as possible. No matter what, he had to finish the 7-sect competition. Even his grandfather didn't know about Long Yu's trump cards. If he really met with fatal danger, he should still have the ability to protect himself. The 9 Underworld Dragon Seal and the true spirit of the 9 Underworld Dragon were his trump cards. As long as he could condense the true spirit of the 9 Underworld Dragon into a physical form, he would be able to intimidate even a true spirit as one expert. If the power of the 9 Underworld Dragon Seal was completely unleashed, no one in the Tang Empire would be able to block it, just like how he had intimidated the Jintian clan's elder Wu Jinshin. The current him was no longer the same martial artist as before. If he unleashed the power of the 9 underworld dragon seal, how powerful would it be? Of course, unless it was absolutely necessary, Long Yu wouldn't unleash the power of the 9 underworld dragon seal. This was his greatest trump card. Unless he had to die, Long Yu wouldn't use it to kill his enemies, even if he had to escape. This trump card was his last resort. Even a cunning rabbit had 3 burrows, not to mention Long Yu. No matter what, Long Yu would always leave himself an absolutely safe path of retreat. I've said it all. It's up to you whether you want to listen or not. Long Ruotian glanced at Long Yu, then turned around and left with the Long clan's disciples. As the Long clan's people left, the Jintian clan members heaved a sigh of relief. The terrifying killing intent from before had almost suffocated them. However, Long Ruotian's words before he left caused the Jintian clan members to look at Long Yu with suspicion. Would Long Yu escape at the last moment? They knew that the Jintian clan had spent a lot of cultivation resources on Long Yu in order to nurture Long Yu. Now that the martial competition of the 7 sects was approaching, it would be too hateful if he turned around and ran away. Long Yu, if you can't do it, you'd better leave the Tang Empire first. Bai Yunzong's face was incomparably solemn. Long Ruotian still listens to your grandfather's words, and your grandfather wouldn't speak without thinking. Since he said so, it means that if you stay in the Tang Empire, you'll definitely encounter fatal danger. That's right, junior brother Long. Bai Yunzong also nodded his head and advised, with your talent, you might even be able to step into the legendary unity of heaven and man realm. If you lose your life for the martial competition of the 7 sects, it wouldn't be worth it. Sect Master, Senior Brother Boo, you don't have to say any more. Long Yu shook his head, his eyes filled with determination. I won't leave before the martial competition of the 7 sects is over. The Jintian clan has high hopes for me. How can I let everyone down? You sigh. Master Bai heaved a sigh. He also wanted to let Long Yu leave first and return when his martial Dao realm was higher. At that time, so what if he gave the heaven-suppressing art to Chu Chaosheng? Old Bai believed that Long Yu's achievements would definitely be higher than Chu Chaosheng's. This was a kind of intuition. At that time, wouldn't Chu Chaosheng have to return the things he took back? However, Long Yu's attitude was firm, and he refused to leave now. Whether it was by Yunzong, Old Bai, or by Yunzong, none of them persuaded him to leave. When Long Yu becomes stubborn, it is truly terrifying. No matter who it is, they can forget about changing his mind. Especially after seeing the Jintian clan's crushing defeat in the first round of the martial competition of the 7 sects. Long Yu couldn't just leave them like that. Once the 3rd round of the True Spirit Secret Realm began, Long Yu would definitely do his best to clear all obstacles for the Jintian clan. Soon, the Jintian clan returned to the mountain residence and began to summarize the lesson of the first round's crushing defeat. Ling Yue and the others blamed themselves, but the result had nothing to do with them. It was the Fire-Hidden Temple and the Broken Blade sect who didn't know how to appreciate favors, which allowed the Thousand Thread sect to gain another great advantage. In the 2nd round, don't fight head-on with others. Preserve your combat strength for now. When the battles are almost over, then go all out and kill the Thousand Thread sect. The result of this discussion was quickly decided. This was the only way to prevent the Jintian clan from being quickly eliminated in the next round. In the 2nd round, 2 days later, the disciples of the 9th rank of the martial path would fight. The 3 heroes of the Feng clan, Feng Haofeng, Feng Xiaofei, Feng Yusin, and Liao Lele would all fight. The Jintian clan had a total of 8 disciples of the 9th rank of the martial path participating, which was not a small number. The sect master of the Ice sect, Tang Qin, came to the mountain residence at night and talked with Bai Yunzong. In order to defeat the Thousand Thread sect, the major sects had to work together. However, Tang Qin brought bad news. The Ice sect's disciples discovered that the pavilion master of the Qingxing Pavilion, Feng Xiaoyue, had chosen to cooperate with the Fire-Hidden Temple and the Broken Blade sect. This was undoubtedly one disaster after another for the Jintian clan and the Ice sect. Bai Yunzong and Tang Qin couldn't do anything. In the end, It all depended on the sect's disciples' performance. There was no point in talking now. It was very likely that the situation would be different from what they had imagined. If that was the case, no matter how good the plan was, it would be useless. Tang Xin decided to adopt the same formation as by Yunzong. In the early stage of the battle, they should preserve their fighting strength. When the enemy advanced, they would retreat. As long as they persisted until the middle stage, their advantage would gradually show. After all, the other sects weren't a monolithic block either. Just like what the Thousand Thread sect's disciples did in the first round, in the process of their main defense, they could also sow discord among the disciples of the other sects, striving for internal strife. 2 days later, the Imperial Army Dojo was once again filled with tens of thousands of people. In the first round of the 7-clan competition, the Jintian clan, the Ice sect, and the Qingqing Pavilion were all defeated. This made many people secretly sigh. Looking at the situation, it was likely that Chu Chaosheng's plan would succeed. When Chu Chaosheng gathered the cultivation techniques of the 7 sects, the 7 sects would undoubtedly be weakened. After a long time, Chu Chaosheng's power would be further consolidated. The Jintian clan entered the dojo under by Yunzong's lead. Long Yu did not leave, which surprised many people. They secretly sighed that this kid was really bold. He did not even care about his own life. Long Ruotian had passed on the warning that Long Yu's grandfather had given him, and many people had heard about it. But from the looks of it now, Long Yu seemed to be acting as if nothing had happened, and was strolling around with the heaven-suppressing sect people. This kid probably did not have long to live. Many people thought so. However, they were very curious. Who would come to take Long Yu's life? Chu Chaosheng and the Long clan were definitely impossible. Chu Chaosheng was restricted by the royal princess, while the Long clan was restricted by Long Yu's grandfather. But other than them, who else could it be? Long Yu did not think so much. Yu Xin, Hao Feng, Xiao Fei, Lei, this round is all up to you. Do your best. Before the battle started, Long Yu solemnly encouraged everyone. Hee brother Long, don't worry. Feng Xiaofei's eyes flashed with cunning. It was obvious that he had a special plan. Feng Haofeng's face was solemn. Feng Yusin and Liao Lei were a little nervous. After all, they were girls. But the 2 girls thought that they could not possibly lose to Ling Yu, all right? Chapter 198. There were a total of 55 disciples from the 7 sects participating in the second round of the 7-sect competition. According to the rules, 1/7 of the disciples could stay until the end, which meant that 8 people would emerge victorious and obtain 2 martial arrows for their respective sections. There would be a total of 16 martial arrows in this round. If they did well, they might be able to catch up to the Thousand Thread sect's advantage in the first round. Of course, it was extremely difficult to achieve this ideal situation. At least, it was an impossible task for the 8 disciples of the Jintian clan in the 9th level of the martial path. Soon, 55 disciples of the 9th level of the martial path had gathered in the Imperial Army's arena, attracting the attention of everyone in the arena. These 55 disciples stood in 7 different directions, indicating that they came from different sections. When the host of the 7-sect competition, Chu Chaosheng, gave the order for the battle to begin, the entire Imperial Army's arena immediately became chaotic. It could be seen that the disciples of the Jintian clan and the Ice sect had scattered towards the outer area where there were fewer people. Some moved alone, some in groups of 2, and some in groups of 3. Feng Haofeng, Feng Xiaofei, and Feng Yusin were in groups of 3, while Liao Lei was in a group of 1. This situation was unexpected to the disciples of the Hidden Fire Hall, Broken Blade sect, and Qingqing Pavilion. Originally, the pavilion master of the Qingqiang Pavilion, Feng Xiaoyue, had decided to form an alliance with the Hidden Fire Hall because she wanted to quickly eliminate the disciples of the Jintian clan and the Ice sect, and then eliminate the disciples of the Thousand Thread sect together. Moreover, in this round, the 3 sects had strictly forbidden their disciples from fighting each other to prevent the disciples of the Thousand Thread sect from sowing discord again. Split up. The disciples of the Hidden Fire Hall, the Broken Blade sect, and the female disciples of the Qingchang Pavilion formed small teams and chased after the disciples of the Jintian clan and the Ice sect. Many of the disciples of the Broken Blade sect had comprehended the Broken Blade intent. After releasing it, their speed became extremely fast, and they could quickly catch up to their opponents. It was the same for the female disciples of the Qingcheng Pavilion. They cultivated the alluring phantom intent and comprehended the phantom intent. Not only was their speed fast, but they also had a hint of charm, making it impossible to defend against. The disciples of these two sects were best at hunting and killing. However, the disciples of the Jintian clan and the Ice sect weren't easy to deal with either. They spread out in twos and threes, each displaying the heaven-suppressing concept and frost concept they had comprehended. The power of suppression and frost immediately filled their surroundings, slowing down their pursuers. Not only that, now, counterattack. Feng Haofeng, Feng Xiaofei, and Feng Yusin had almost reached the edge of the Imperial Army's dojo. Seeing the four Breaking Blade sect disciples chasing after them, they suddenly turn around. Heaven's suppressing charm. Feng Haofeng roared and instantly released a terrifying pressure that suppressed the heavens. Feng Haofeng, who was only at the 9th level of the martial Dao, had already comprehended the essence of the heaven-suppressing law. Although this couldn't be compared to Long Yu, it was already very impressive among ordinary martial cultivators. When the heaven-suppressing charm was released, Feng Xiaofei and Feng Yusin did not hesitate to use their strongest attacks. Transcendent mortal rank martial skill, sky wave crossing, noble spirit of grand whiteness. With just one attack, the two Breaking Blade sect disciples who had been suppressed by the heaven-suppressing charm were sent flying. Both of them landed heavily on the ground, heavily injured. There are two more, don't let them go. Feng Xiaofei's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. In a flash, he appeared beside another disciple. Sky wave crossing, kill. Feng Xiaofei waved his hand, and a white sky wave shot out, sending the disciple flying and losing the ability to fight. As for the last disciple Feng Yusin was dealing with, he was quick to use the Broken Blade intent to block Feng Haofeng's heaven-suppressing charm and escape. However, Feng Yusin also released the heaven-suppressing charm, which instantly countered the opponent's Broken Blade intent. Once again, the opponent was completely suppressed by Feng Haofeng's heaven-suppressing charm. Noble spirit of grand whiteness. Feng Yusin waved her hand, and a burst of noble spirit of grand whiteness shone like sunlight, completely suppressing the opponent to the ground. This series of battles happened in an instant. Feng Haofeng relied on his own understanding of the heaven-suppressing charm to easily eliminate four Breaking Blade sect disciples. And these four people were half of the Breaking Blade sect's strength on the field. The other three Breaking Blade sect disciples were chasing after Liao Lele, who was moving alone. Unfortunately, Liao Lele's movements were unfathomable. This girl had actually cultivated most of the movement skills of the Jintian clan. The world's near-at-hand layer cloud steps, sky jolting movement skill, blink wind step, and so on were executed one by one. Even the three Broken Saber sect disciples could not catch up to her. Seeing Liao Lele's pretty figure in blue jumping around the Forbidden Army's battleground, many people from the heaven-suppressing sect revealed looks of joy. This girl really knew how to restrict the opponent's combat strength. Those three are strong. Let's go and fight them. Feng Haofeng, Feng Xiaofei, and Feng Yusin's eye-catching performance instantly attracted the attention of several Falling Rain Sword sect disciples. Originally, the Falling Rain Sword sect disciples were looking for Thousand Thread sect disciples to deal with. But now, three Falling Rain Sword sect disciples finally noticed Feng Haofeng and the other two after sending a Thousand Thread sect disciple flying. The three Falling Rain Sword sect disciples quickly attacked the three of them. The Falling Rain Sword sect disciples cultivate the art of night rain and understand the law of night rain. When they move, night rain will descend and affect the enemy's vision. Feng Haofeng's face darkened. The leader has already understood the law of night rain. Xiaofei, it's all up to you now. Leave it to me. Feng Xiaofei's lips curled slightly, but the three of them continued running until they suddenly turned around. Heaven's suppressing charm. Feng Haofeng and Feng Xiaofei both released the heaven suppressing charm at the same time, instantly enveloping the three falling rain sword sect disciples. Two geniuses who have understood the law of night rain. When this scene appeared, the crowd was in an uproar. The three rain sword sect disciples who bore the brunt of the attack were the most shocked. Originally, they thought that only Feng Haofeng had comprehended the divine charm amongst the three heroes of the Feng clan, so both parties should be evenly matched. But now, it seemed that they had underestimated the three of them. Suppress them. Feng Haofeng and Feng Xiaofei released the heaven-suppressing charm with all their strength, and the three falling rain sword sect disciples could not resist at all. Bang! 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 The three falling rain sword sect disciples were thrown out of the Imperial Dojo by Feng Haofeng, losing the right to continue fighting. Surround them. Immediately, the Hidden Fire Hall and Qingcheng Pavilion disciples noticed the strength of Feng Haofeng and the other two. At this moment, they could not care less about anything else. They could only chase the three of them out of the Imperial Dojo first. Suddenly, more than 10 disciples from Hidden Fire Hall and Qingcheng Pavilion surrounded Feng Haofeng and the other two. Facing such a strong encirclement, Feng Haofeng and the other two did not dare to fight them head-on. They immediately executed their worlds in near at hand and quickly led them in circles. Unfortunately, the 10 of them surrounded them from a tricky angle. No matter where Feng Haofeng and the other two went, they could not escape from their encirclement. Let's take this chance to kick the others off the stage. Feng Haofeng shouted loudly. Then, the situation on the battlefield turned around. Originally, it was the Broken Blade sect, the Hidden Fire Temple, and the Qingcheng Pavilion who were chasing after the Heaven-suppressing sect and the Ice sect disciples. But now, most of their opponents were surrounding Feng Haofeng and the other two. There are not many people left. The Ice sect and Jintian clan disciples had already been caught, and 4 or 5 of them had been kicked out, but there were still about 10 of them left. At this moment, they finally started their counterattack. In an instant, the situation on the Imperial Dojo was reversed. The number of people on the dojo was reduced to half. There were only 27 people left on the dojo. Among them, Feng Haofeng and the other two alone had sent 7 people flying. The strength that they displayed shocked the entire crowd. Actually, you don't need to surround the 3 of us. Feng Xiaofei was surrounded by 10 people, but he calmly suggested, the 3 of us can only occupy 3 spots at most. If you guys step aside now, we won't do anything to your sex people. As soon as he said this, the 10 people who were surrounding him looked at each other. However, just as they were considering this possibility, a Thousand Thread sect disciple suddenly barged in and attacked Feng Haofeng and the other two. Kill! The Thousand Thread sect disciple's figure was like a shadow as he charged forward at an extremely fast speed. His entire body was emitting the Thousand Thread charm, which formed a huge black net of shadows that enveloped Feng Haofeng and the other two. Good chance, go! The 10 Hidden Fire Hall and Qingcheng Pavilion disciples who were surrounding Feng Haofeng and the other two immediately attacked. 10 people? So what? Yusin, it's time for you to perform. Seeing this, Feng Haofeng and Feng Xiaofei let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that their opponents had started to relax. If they counterattacked now, they would be able to win. And the trump card they were relying on was Feng Yuxian. Heaven's suppressing force. Feng Yusin shouted. Suddenly, a terrifying heaven-suppressing force descended from the sky and landed on the 10 disciples, including the Thousand Thread sect disciple who had launched a sneak attack. As if Mount Tai was pressing down on them, a total of 11 people were suppressed by this heaven-suppressing force. Go! Feng Haofeng and Feng Xiaofei did not hesitate. They ran as fast as they could and sent the Thousand Thread sect disciple flying out of the dojo. Then, each of them released their heaven-suppressing force, to counteract the law and intent released by the remaining people. Under the shocked gazes of the Imperial Army Dojo, Feng Haofeng and the other two once again created a miracle. They sent the 10 people from the Broken Blade sect, Qing Cheng Pavilion, and one person from the Thousand Thread sect flying at the same time. Chu Chaosheng, who was at the largest spectator stand, frowned slightly. He did not expect the Jintian clan to have such talented young disciples. Chapter 199. The performance of Feng Haofeng and the other two shocked everyone. What was even more unexpected was that Fengyu Xin had already comprehended the heaven-suppressing power. Even the Jintian clan did not expect this. Long Yu was even more delighted. He did not expect Fengyu Xin to be so talented. Not only did she possess a loyal heart and become an alchemist, but she also had a deep understanding of the natural laws. When the group of Hidden Fire Hall and Qingcheng Pavilion disciples were sent flying by the three, there were only 14 people left in the field. Of these 14 people, 5 were disciples of the heaven-suppressing sect, 5 were disciples of the Eye School, and the other 4 were disciples of the Thousand Thread sect, and 2 disciples of the Falling Rainsword sect. While Feng Haofeng and the other 2 were fighting fiercely, there were also many conflicts in other places. The Jintian clan and Ice sect disciples were focused on avoiding the battles, so they had the most survivors. The Hidden Fire Hall, Broken Blade sect, and Qingcheng Pavilion did not even have a single disciple left. At this point, there was no point in dodging anymore. They had the advantage in numbers and strength. It was time to end the battle. Chase! Feng Haofeng and the other 2 chased after a Thousand Thread sect disciple. In an instant, they had forced him into a corner. The 3 of them released the heaven-suppressing power at the same time, not giving him any chance. Suddenly, a heavenly wave swept across and sent the Thousand Thread sect disciple flying. He was eliminated. On the other side, a battle had also broken out. The remaining 2 people from the Falling Rainsword sect and the last person from the Thousand Thread sect saw that the situation was bad. So they joined forces and surrounded an Ice sect disciple who had not regrouped with the others in time. Almost without any hesitation, the Ice sect disciple chose to admit defeat. Facing the joint attack of 3 people, he did not have the strength and courage of Feng Haofeng and the other 2. If he persisted in resisting, he might lose his life. The Thousand Thread sect and the Ice sect each sent 1 person. The remaining 5 people from the Jintian clan quickly regrouped. Next, it was time to dominate the battlefield. There's no chance. Now is the time. The 2 young swordsmen from the Falling Rainsword sect looked at each other and nodded. Then, they rushed toward the 4 Ice sect disciples that had regrouped. They didn't dare to do anything to the Jintian clan, but the Ice sect still had a chance. With the help of the Thousand Thread sect disciple, if the 3 of them could defeat all the disciples of the Frost School in one fell swoop, they would be able to win the martial discourse arrow for their respective sections 3 versus 4. The battle was exceptionally intense. It didn't take long for both sides to lose 1 person each, losing their combat strength, and taking the initiative to admit defeat. There were only 10 people left. As long as 2 more people were eliminated, the outcome of this chaotic battle would be decided. At this moment, the 5 members of the Jintian clan finally arrived. They released their heaven-suppressing aura and instantly enveloped the 2 Rainfall Sword sect disciples and the Thousand Thread sect disciples. Kill! The 8 of them attacked at the same time. Among them were experts like Feng Haofeng and the other 2. Victory was finally decided. The disciples of the Falling Rainsword sect and the Thousand Thread sect did not have any chance to resist at all. They were suppressed and sent flying, hurriedly admitting defeat. After all, they could not lose their lives because of this. Since the other side had admitted defeat, they could not chase after them anymore. Of the 8 people left on the battlefield, 5 were from the Jintian clan and 3 were from the Ice sect. This was the final result of the second round of the chaotic battle. Feng Haofeng, Feng Yusen, Feng Xiaofei, and Liao Lele all stood at the end. The 5 disciples of the Jintian clan had won 10 martial discourse arrows for the Jintian clan. As for the Ice sect, they had also won 6 martial discourse arrows. Among the 7 sects, other than the Thousand Thread sect and the Jintian clan, they had won the most martial discourse arrows. They were about to catch up. The Thousand Thread sect only had 12 martial discourse arrows, only 2 more than the Jintian clan. In this chaotic battle, the Jintian clan and the Ice sect both won. This caused the pavilion master of the Qingsheng Pavilion, Fang Qiaoyun's face to darken. Could it be that she had chosen the wrong position? But when she looked in the direction of the Jintian clan, she quickly calmed down. The Jintian clan was stronger in the 9th stage of the martial path. In the next round, the entire Jintian clan only had 2 disciples in the 1st stage of the true spirit realm. One had to know that in order to prepare for the 7th sect competition, many sects had put in a lot of effort to nurture their disciples. Just the Qingsheng Pavilion alone had 4 disciples in the 1st stage of the true spirit realm, which was double the number of the Jintian clan. If Xiangya hadn't jumped into the lake to commit suicide, the Qingsheng Pavilion would have 5 disciples in the 1st stage of the true spirit realm, which was a huge advantage. Furthermore, the Jintian clan didn't have a single disciple in the 2nd stage of the true spirit realm, which meant that the Jintian clan would definitely lose. There were 2 disciples in the Jintian clan who were in the 3rd stage of the true spirit realm, but the key was Long Yu. Fang Qiaoyun narrowed her eyes. She knew that she had to restrain Long Yu in the 3rd stage of the true spirit realm, or they would definitely lose. Apart from Fang Qiaoyun, the other sects that were defeated in the 2nd round had the same thought. The Jintian clan and the Ice sect were only stronger in this round. Furthermore, the composition of each sect's disciples was different, so there was still more to come. However, the Jintian clan wasn't rejoicing. Instead, everyone was gloomy. That was because in the 2nd round, a sky-suppressing sect disciple was caught up by the 3 people from the Fire Hidden Hall and killed. He didn't even have the chance to admit defeat. The Hidden Fire sect was declaring war on the Jintian clan. I will definitely kill everyone from the Hidden Fire sect in the next round. Lu Guanming's face was filled with anger as he raised his fist and punched the stone stool. Don't be careless, Bai Yunzong said solemnly. In the next round, only you and Ling Han will fight in the Jintian clan, and there are nearly 40 disciples in the 1st stage of the true spirit realm. Indeed, the disciples of the heaven-suppressing sect looked in the direction of the other sects, and their faces darkened. Long Yu also surveyed his surroundings and frowned. He thought to himself, although we won 10 martial arrows in this round, it will be difficult for us in the next round. Even with the 3 disciples from the Ice sect, there were only 5 of them. How could they fight against more than 30 people? No matter how strong Ling Han and Lu Guanming were, they were at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. It would be difficult for them to fight against more than 30 people. We only have 2 people in the next round, and none after that. The overall situation isn't optimistic. The hearts of the heaven-suppressing sect disciples were covered with a layer of shadow. Who said we only have 2 people in the next round? Suddenly, a crisp female voice entered everyone's ears, attracting their attention. Everyone looked over and saw Liao Lele smiling. In 2 days, I will try to condense my true spirit and step into the true spirit realm. That way, I can participate again, right? She still had the spirit-condensing pill that Long Yu had left for her, so it wasn't impossible for her to step into the true spirit realm in 2 days. I just don't know if the same person can participate in 2 rounds of Battle Royale. Liao Lele said as she looked at Bai Yunzong. As long as you can make a breakthrough, what's the harm in participating twice? Bai Yunzong smiled. It would be extremely difficult to make a breakthrough within these 2 days. If it wasn't a coincidence, it would be impossible to do so. Fortunately, Liao Lele was about to condense her true spirit. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to make a breakthrough so easily, not to mention that she only had 2 days. The martial competition of the 7 sects was meant to promote the development of the 7 sections. If a disciple made a breakthrough, he would naturally be able to participate in the competition. Good luck. For a moment, everyone looked at Liao Lele with anticipation. If Liao Lele could really step into the true spirit realm, Then with her speed, she might be able to create a miracle in the next round. I'll buy you a few elixirs. After saying that, Long Yu left the Imperial Army Marshal Field and headed to the Heavenly Trading Ground. He had the Heavenly Trading Ground's VIP Jade token, so he could enjoy a 20% discount when buying elixirs. Furthermore, he had more than 3,000 crystal coins on him, so buying 3 upper spirit level elixirs was not a problem. As long as Liao Lele could advance, everything was negotiable. Not long after, Long Yu arrived at the Heavenly Trading Ground and bought 3 upper spirit level elixirs for 2,700 crystal coins. With these 3 elixirs and the spirit condensing pill that could increase the success rate of condensing a true spirit, Liao Lele's chances of entering the true spirit realm would be very high. Along the way, Long Yu sensed that many people were secretly following him, but he didn't know who they were. Wang family? Luo family? Yuchi family? Or Long family? Or could it be Chu Chaosheng's people? Long Yu felt that Chu Chaosheng had already made preparations against him. However, he could not guess what kind of tricks Chu Chaosheng had up his sleeves. Liao Lele is trying to break through to the true spirit realm. I also need to comprehend the concept of the 9 nether laws as soon as possible, condense the 9 nether spirits' true spirit into a physical body, and step into the 4th level of the true spirit realm. No matter what, Long Yu would not slack off in his cultivation. Right now, what was preventing him from advancing in the martial Dao was not the lack of spiritual energy, but the need to comprehend the concept of the 9 nether laws. In this situation, no matter how many elixirs he consumed, it would be useless. Furthermore, the effects of spirit-level elixirs were already negligible to him. If he wanted to advance in the future, he would have to obtain more profound level elixirs, or he would have to concentrate on cultivating for several years. One could imagine the difficulty of this. This was also the reason why it was difficult for most martial cultivators to advance further once they reached this level. Even if it was the Imperial Chu family, profound level pills were not something that could be easily taken out. Perhaps even Long Su and Long Ji from the Long General family had not consumed profound level elixirs before. They had only consumed spirit level elixirs, which was why they were able to reach their current level. Under the expectations of the Jintian clan, Liao Lele did not disappoint. Finally, on the day before the 3rd round of battle, she condensed the heaven-suppressing wing's true spirit shadow and stepped into the true spirit realm. The martial skills that Liao Lele cultivated were all movement skills. Coupled with the effects of the heaven-suppressing wing's true spirit shadow, her speed had far surpassed martial cultivators of the same level. It was comparable to the speed of a martial cultivator in the 3rd level of the true spirit realm. Chapter 200. The 3rd round of the mixed battle had officially begun. Contrary to everyone's expectations, the Jintian clan did not only send out 2 people, but 3. The extra person was the girl who had performed outstandingly in the previous round. The girl's name was Liao Lele. In the previous round, she had relied on her incredible speed to escape from a few desperate situations. Who knew how she would perform in this round? Unfortunately, even with 1 more person, the Jintian clan would not be able to last long in the 3rd round. This was because the Jintian clan and their ally, the Ice Sect, only sent out 6 disciples of the LV-1 True Spirit Realm to participate in the 3rd round. However, the Fire Hidden Palace, the Qingsheng Pavilion, and the Broken Saber Sect had a total of 19 people. In order to prepare for the martial competition of the 7 sects, the 3 sects had distributed their cultivation resources, allowing many of their disciples to enter the true spirit realm. As for the Thousand Thread sect and the Falling Rainsword sect, they each had 6 and 5 disciples of the LV-1 True Spirit Realm. In this way, there would be a total of 35 people participating in the 3rd round, and only 5 people would emerge victorious in the end. Good luck! Liao Lele, Ling Han, and Lu Guanming attracted many people's attention as they walked onto the stage. Long Yu glanced at White Cloud Track and discovered that White Cloud Track had a calm and composed look on his face. Clearly, He had confidence in the three of them. This piqued Long Yu's curiosity. Could it be that Lu Guanming, Ling Han, and Liao Lele were strong enough to handle the third round? Let's wait and see. Long Yu thought to himself as he carefully observed the situation on the stage, not wanting to miss a single thing. Following Chu Chaoxing's order, the chaotic battle finally began. When Liao Lele heard the sound of the chaotic battle beginning, she immediately used her movement technique and dashed towards the periphery. She was like a cheerful little fairy. No one was able to touch the corner of her clothes on the battlefield. At first, no one was willing to pay attention to Liao Lele. Although she was moving alone, her speed was too fast. If they wanted to surround her, they would need at least 5 people to kill her. It would be a waste of energy to surround her. Compared to Liao Lele, they were more willing to focus their energy on Ling Han and Lu Guanming. Unlike the 3 heroes of the Feng clan in the previous round, Lu Guanming and Ling Han didn't run away this time. Instead, they stood with their backs facing each other in a defensive posture. Surrounded by so many people, these 2 people actually chose to defend? Too naive. The eyes of the disciples from the hidden fire hall, the broken saber gate, and the glamorous pavilion lit up. The 2 of them were too tempting. If it didn't send these 2 people flying out of the arena first, it would be a waste of their advantage in numbers. Let's go together. The 19 disciples from the Hidden Fire Hall, Broken Blade Sect, and Qingqing Pavilion attacked Ling Han and Lu Guanming at the same time. In such a situation, none of these 19 people released their laws or concepts. This was because they knew that in this round, their true opponents would be each other. Once the disciples of the Ice Sect and the Jintian clan were eliminated, the remaining people would definitely kill each other because only 5 people could win this round. Because of this, when the 19 people formed a circle and attacked Ling Han and Lu Guanming from different directions, they only used less than 30% of their strength. Even so, under normal circumstances, it was more than enough to deal with 2 martial cultivators of the same level as them. However, they didn't expect that Ling Han and Lu Guanming weren't ordinary martial cultivators. Supreme Breath, Turtle Chi, defend. Lu Guanming's expression darkened. His eyes were extremely serious as he spread his hands outward. Suddenly, a layer of chi that looked like a turtle shell appeared around him and Ling Han. It was the Supreme Breath, Turtle Chi, a spiritual low-grade martial skill recorded by the Jintian clan. The Jintian clan had a few spiritual low-grade martial skills, but Lu Guanming chose to cultivate the Supreme Breath Turtle Chi because it had a very special effect. A mere spiritual low-grade martial skill can block the attacks of the 19 of us? The disciples of the Hidden Fire Hall snorted coldly, as if they could see the tortoise-shell chi barrier shattering. However, to their disappointment, something happened. Supreme Breath Turtle Chi, tortoise-shell carvings. Following Lu Guanming's shout, the surface of the tortoise-shell chi barrier suddenly cracked, condensing into an even more vivid tortoise-shell pattern, and a tyrannical heaven-suppressing force was integrated into it. Lu Guanming had also comprehended the heaven-suppressing force. At this moment, he allowed his Supreme Breath Turtle Chi defense martial skill to display an extremely terrifying defensive power. With a loud bang, the attacks of the 19 disciples caused the tortoiseshell chi barrier to crack, but in the end, they were unable to break through its defense. Lu Guanming had actually withstood the attacks of 19 people by himself. Even if these 19 people had only used 30% of their strength in this round of attacks, it was enough to shock people. Such an outstanding defensive ability caused Lu Guanming's black face to fall into everyone's eyes. No matter what the outcome of this round of battle was, Lu Guanming's name would definitely spread. One more time, and they will definitely die. Be more careful. A disciple of the Hidden Fire Hall who had comprehended the hidden fire techniques Heaven and Earth Force had a fierce glint in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, a burst of hidden fire technique descended, accompanied by a burst of flames that attacked. He had already used 60% of his strength in this move, and after the first attack failed, the other 18 people also increased their strength. If it wasn't 50% of their strength, it was 60%. Flames, blade light, flowing light, sword shadows. All of them came at an extremely fast speed. Did you use 50% of your strength? That's not enough. Lu Guanming's eyes flashed, but he did not take any measures. He only activated his profound qi and continued to defend. Supreme breath, turtle qi, condense. Layers of tortoiseshell materialized in the air around the two of them, blocking the attacks of the 19 opponents at the same time. This was the supreme breath turtle qi that Lu Guanming had cultivated to the great perfection realm. By condensing the supreme breath turtle qi into a physical form, its defensive ability would multiply. When the terrifying power of the 19 people landed on the tortoise shell, it immediately shattered the tortoise shell. After all, it was the combined power of the 19 people, and it was probably equivalent to the full power of a 5th-rank true spirit realm expert. However, such a terrifying attack was still unable to break through Lu Guanming's tortoiseshell defense. Lu Guanming's supreme breath, turtle qi, made his entire body like a tortoiseshell. It was undoubtedly extremely difficult for someone of the same realm to break through his defense. 2 moves. He had already blocked 2 moves. The 2 rounds of attacks from the 19 people had actually been blocked by Lu Guanming, causing the faces of the 19 people from the Hidden Fire Hall to change. Wasn't the defense of this Jintian clan disciple, Lu Guanming, too strong? Just like a tortoise shell. You can't do it more than 3 times. Use all your strength and finish them off. The leader of the Hidden Fire Hall immediately shouted. He knew that he had to finish off Ling Han and Lu Guanming in the next move. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. He secretly hid some of his strength and displayed 90% of his strength. A ball of flame instantly burst out. As for the other 18 people, some used their full strength, while others similarly held back 10% of their strength. Each of them displayed their martial skills and attacked Ling Han and Lu Guanming. The entire Imperial Army martial field was once again filled with flames, saber light, and sword shadows. This time, they definitely can't block it. It's a pity that all 19 people have used their full strength. They don't even have the chance to surrender. In this way, they will definitely die in this round of attacks. All the spectators' hearts raced as they watched the field nervously. For many people, the outcome of the 7-sect martial arts discussion had nothing to do with them. However, when an expert like Lu Guanming appeared on the field, it would undoubtedly attract everyone's attention and affect everyone's hearts. Did they use their full strength? It seems that I have to make a move too. Faced with a desperate situation, Lu Guanming's eyes flashed with madness as he instantly roared. He had not only cultivated the Grand Breath Tortoiseshell Qi to the completion realm, but if he advanced the Grand Breath Tortoiseshell Qi from the completion realm, he would be able to produce the Grand Breath Aura, which had the most terrifying characteristic, reflecting attacks. Once the Grand Breath Tortoiseshell Qi was comprehended, it was no longer just a defensive martial skill, but a terrifying defensive martial skill. When Lu Guanming roared, the dark qi in his body suddenly boiled, and the heaven-suppressing momentum crazily surged out. Grand Breath Aura. A layer of Grand Breath Aura, flowing with the pattern of a tortoise shell, instantly spread out and blocked the attacks of the 19 people from afar. Suddenly, a strange aura erupted, and the attacks of the 19 people were completely blocked by the Grand Breath Aura, and then immediately rebounded. This scene was completely unexpected to the 19 people. In their shock, they were hit by the rebounding martial skills and flew out with a loud bang, landing heavily on the ground. However, at the same time, the Grand Breath Aura that Lu Guanming had condensed was also fragmented, unable to withstand all the attacks. The remaining attacks landed on him, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes widened as he fell backwards. Is he dead? Many people's hearts skipped a beat as they watched Lu Guanming fall backwards, and they could not help but be shocked. This guy was strong enough to reflect the attacks of 19 people. It was too shocking. However, to be attacked by so many people at the same time No matter how heaven-defying one was, it was impossible for him to survive. "It's my turn." At that moment, Ling Han, who had been under Lu Guangming's protection, finally took a small step forward. Spirit shaking fist. Without hesitation, Ling Han took a step forward and threw a punch at a hidden Fire Temple disciple who was not far away. That hidden Fire Temple disciple was the leader of the hidden Fire Temple, who had retained 10% of his strength. As he had retained 10% of his strength, he did not lose the ability to fight even after being reflected, and only suffered a slight injury. Seeing that Ling Han had thrown a punch at Hong Se, the hidden Fire Temple disciple sneered and was about to release the hidden fire force, but because he was injured by Lu Guangming's rebound, his movement was delayed by half a beat. Spirit shaking fist seal. Ling Han threw a punch, and a soul-stirring ripple spread out in the air, instantly enveloping the hidden Fire Temple disciple. After being hit by the spirit-shaking fist, the hidden Fire Temple disciple immediately felt his meridians become chaotic, and at that moment, he could not use any martial skills. Kill. When Ling Han saw that the person had no intention of surrendering, a murderous intent appeared in his eyes, and a long sword appeared in his hand. Mighty Heaven Sword Skill. Chapter 2:01. In the previous round, the Hidden Fire Hall disciples did not give the other party a chance to surrender. The three of them surrounded and killed a Jintian clan disciple. And now, Ling Han had given him a chance, yet his opponent refused to admit defeat. Thus, he would deal the killing blow and kill that person with a single strike of his sword. Hua Haishan, the palace master of Hidden Fire Temple, saw this scene and immediately stood up in anger. A cluster of flames rose from the top of his head. It was a pity that he could not run into the arena to save the Hidden Fire Hall disciple, even though he had witnessed the scene. He would die if he did not surrender. This was the truth in the Imperial Army's arena. This was not just a competition. Kill. Ling Han did not show any mercy. He turned around and pointed his sword at another Hidden Fire Hall disciple. I surrender, I surrender. The Hidden Fire Hall disciple surrendered in a hurry and ran towards the edge of the Imperial Army's arena in a panic. Once one surrendered in front of tens of thousands of people, he would lose the right to participate in the competition. He could either leave the Imperial Army's arena with his head in his hands, or stay in the arena with his head in his hands. Holding one's head was an action of surrendering. Apart from that, the disciples who had lost the ability to fight were considered to have surrendered. Although they were still in the arena, they would not be targeted by others, as they could not stand up. However, they could not attack again in the arena. Otherwise, it would be considered a violation of the rules, and they would be deprived of a certain number of martial discussion arrows. The Hidden Fire Hall, Broken Blade Sect, and Qingsheng Pavilion disciples were all thrown off their feet by Lu Guangming's Grand Breath Field. Under Ling Han's threat, one Hidden Fire Hall disciple was swiftly killed, and 3 Broken Blade Sect disciples, 2 Hidden Fire Hall disciples, and 4 Qingsheng Pavilion disciples were scared off. They had been injured by Lu Guangming and had temporarily lost the ability to fight. It would take them a few hours to recover. At that moment, the arena had nothing to do with them. Lu Guangming had single-handedly caused 1 person to be killed and 9 people to surrender. However, he seemed to have paid a huge price for it. Was he still alive? Many of the tens of thousands of spectators had their attention on Lu Guangming. As for Ling Han, who had come out to take advantage of the situation after Lu Guangming's outburst, he did not stand out at the moment and naturally did not attract anyone's attention. However, right after that, Ling Han finally began to enter the sights of others. Kill him. The remaining 9 disciples from the Hidden Fire Hall, the Broken Blade Sect, and the Qingsheng Pavilion charged at Ling Han simultaneously. They had already lost 10 people. If they did not kill Ling Han or chase him away, how would they have the face to stay on the battlefield? This time, they had to kill him. This Ling Han couldn't possibly be as abnormal as that Lu Guangming, right? At this moment, apart from Ling Han and the remaining 9 disciples, there were also disciples from the Thousand Thread sect and the Falling Rainsword sect who wanted to take advantage of the situation. The disciples of the Thousand Thread sect and the Falling Rainsword sect were naturally targeting the disciples of the Broken Saber sect, the Hidden Fire Hall, and the Alluring Pavilion. As for Ling Han of the Jintian clan, no one cared about him anymore. He was the only one left. What could he do? The battlefield fell into chaos once more, whereas, amongst the 9 people that had pounced at Ling Han at the same time, 4 of them were being held back by the disciples of the Thousand Thread sect and Rainfall Sword sect. There are only 5 of you. Come at me. A cold light flashed in Ling Han's eyes. He waved the long sword in his hand, and a layer of frost instantly covered the surface of the long sword, emitting a terrifying chill. Moon, Divine Charm. Starting from that long sword, it gradually spread to Ling Han's entire body. Very quickly, he was completely covered by a layer of frost. At the same time, a terrifying divine aura of the regulations of Een spread out, suppressing the 5 people who had surrounded him. Moon Divine Charm. The divine charm of the earthly seal level law. This was undoubtedly extremely shocking to a martial cultivator in the LV1 True Spirit Secret Realm. Once it was unleashed, it would be extremely terrifying. Even the combined forces of the 5 disciples from the Broken Blade sect, the Hidden Fire Hall, and the Qingqing Pavilion were completely frozen by the Moon Divine Charm. They were first hit by Lu Guanming, and even if they did not lose the ability to fight, they were still slightly injured. Now that they were covered by the Moon Divine Charm, their bodies were instantly covered in a layer of frost, and their movements instantly became stiff. Heaven's Might Sword Skill. Ling Han's Heaven's Might Sword skill had also been cultivated to the Great Perfection realm. At this moment, when he swung his sword, it actually split into 5 swords. Each sword contained boundless heaven's might and descended upon the 5 people. Admit defeat. The 5 of them admitted defeat at the same time. If they did not admit defeat, they would all be killed by Ling Han alone. The consequences would be more serious than losing a few martial discourse arrows for their sects. As the 5 of them admitted defeat, the combined forces of the Broken Blade sect, the Hidden Fire Hall, and the Qingqing Pavilion were once again close to being annihilated. Among them, the Qingqing Pavilion still had 2 people left. They were entangled by 3 to 4,000 Thread sect disciples and were soon forced to admit defeat. The last person from the Broken Blade sect was fighting with a Rain Sword sect disciple alone. However, because he was injured by Lu Guanming, the Broken Blade sect disciple had no choice but to admit defeat after injuring the Rain Sword sect disciple. As for the person from the Hidden Fire Hall, he was chased by 2 Rain Sword sect disciples. He still wanted to escape, but he was harassed by Liao Lele, who was flying over and blocked his way. As such, the last Hidden Fire Hall disciple could only choose to admit defeat in the face of the sword skills of 2 Rain Sword sect disciples at the same time. The Hidden Fire Hall, Broken Blade sect, and Qingqing Pavilion were once again annihilated. Among them, the Hidden Fire Hall's disciple with the highest comprehension was killed by Ling Han. It was an extremely heavy loss. This caused the sect leaders of the 3 sects to look extremely gloomy. The pavilion leader of the Qingchang Pavilion, Fang Xiaoyan, also began to ponder. Could it be that she was wrong to ally with the Hidden Fire Hall and the Broken Blade sect? No matter what, the 3rd round of the Battle Royale had nothing to do with the 3 sects anymore. Apart from Ling Han and Liao Lele, there were still 2 disciples from the Ice sect who were constantly in the process of escaping. Apart from them, there were 4,000 Thread sect disciples and 3 Rain Sword sect disciples. One of the Rain Sword sect disciples had already been injured by the Broken Blade sect disciple. In this round, only 5 people would be able to survive until the end. Ling Han's Celestial Een Charm put too much pressure on the others. This caused the 4,000 Thread sect disciples and the 3 Rain Sword sect disciples to surround Ling Han at the same time. Liao Lele and the 2 Ice sect disciples stopped in their tracks now that there were no opponents chasing them. They watched from the side, ready to immediately rescue Ling Han if he was attacked. In terms of numbers, coupled with Ling Han's powerful strength, the Jintian clan was not at a great disadvantage in this aspect. Attack with all your strength. I only want to kill him. The Rain Sword sect disciples pointed the swords in their hands at Ling Han, and 3 streaks of sword chi flew toward Ling Han. Mighty Heaven's sword technique. Ling Han swung the long sword in his hand, and sword chi flew out. Although he blocked the 3 streaks of sword chi, he was forced to take a few steps back. Thousand thread divine charm. Like spider webs, shadows shot toward Ling Han from the ground, from the sky, and from all directions. At this moment, Ling Han's celestial chi was almost used up. Facing such fierce attacks, he seemed to have no strength to continue fighting. Ling Han, surrender. Many people from the Jintian clan stood up and shouted. Lu Guanming's fate was unknown, so nothing could happen to Ling Han. However, hearing the concerned words from the Jintian clan, Ling Han stood in the middle of the field and raised the sword in his hand. I will never lose. These 5 words came out of Ling Han's mouth, shocking the tens of thousands of people in the Imperial Army dojo. Even if he was exhausted, even if he was surrounded by several people, Ling Han still refused to admit defeat. His courage was really outrageous. For such a person to appear in the sky-suppressing sect, it really caused others to be envious and jealous. However, it was a pity that these 2 people were going to die on the stage of the 7th sect martial competition. It really caused others to sigh with regret. No. Suddenly, everyone realized that Lu Guanming, who had fallen to the ground, suddenly stood up and shook his head in a daze. Lu Guanming didn't die. He stood up. He stood up and didn't admit defeat. It meant that he was still standing in the field, and he was a member of the Jintian clan. This is Grand Breath Turtle Chi. After attaining perfection, one can enter a state of suspended animation like a turtle. Beside Long Yu, Bu Fong explained with a serious expression. Grand Breath Turtle Chi, when cultivated to perfection, reached the highest level of this martial skill. It was actually like a turtle pretending to be dead to deceive the enemy. Unexpectedly, Lu Guanming had actually cultivated the Supreme Breath Turtle Chi to the transformation stage after controlling the boulder. It was completely unexpected, and it caused a wave of thunderous cheers and applause in the Imperial Army martial field. Powerful, really too powerful. Such a terrifying guy with outstanding defense didn't die, and even stood up. Was he really going to continue fighting? Did Lu Guanming still have strength left? Ling Han. Lu Guanming roared furiously. When he saw that Ling Han was actually surrounded by 4 disciples of the Thousand Thread sect and 3 disciples of the Falling Rainsword sect, he instantly charged over with his sturdy body. Dong! 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 The hearts of tens of thousands of people seemed to beat with Lu Guanming's footsteps. Everyone knew that the result of the 3rd round would be revealed in the next moment. Go! Liao Lele and the other 2 Eye sect disciples who were hesitating also knew that this was not the time to lose. If it didn't go up now, when Ling Han and Lu Guanming were eliminated, they would also be eliminated. There was no chance at all. It was not easy to reach this situation, and the 2 Eye sect disciples didn't want to lose. The disciples of the Jintian clan were really too powerful. It was indeed the right choice for the sect master to cooperate with the Jintian clan. 5 against 7, the Jintian clan and the Ice sect seemed to be at a disadvantage. But Lu Guanming and Ling Han's aura made them look as terrifying as 1,000 men and horses. Kill! Lu Guanming raised his hand, and a rock shield wall appeared in front of him. Then, this rock shield wall turned into fierce earth fists, smashing towards the opponents. These earth fists, together with the great charm that Ling Han released with the last of his profound energy, smashed towards the disciples of the Thousand Thread sect and the Falling Rainsword sect like giant hailstones. The 7 of them surrounded Ling Han, but encountered Lu Guanming with a terrifying aura, and Liao Lele and the others who came from the outside. Immediately, they were thrown into chaos and were separated, fighting for themselves. In this way, their defeat was already decided. Admit defeat. Lu Guanming caught up to a Thousand Thread sect disciple. Seeing Lu Guanming's dark face, that person was immediately frightened and hurriedly admitted defeat. Chapter 202. It had been more than 2 months since the book was published. In these 2 months, the number of free words had reached more than 600,000 words, and it had basically maintained a daily update of 10,000 words. Today, it was finally going to be published. What was bound to come would come, and being published meant that you would have to pay. It meant that you would not be able to read this book for free in the future. I hope that everyone can understand and support me. The website's fee was like this: 3 cents for every 1,000 words. According to the speed of the book's updates, it would only cost a little more than 20 cents to finish a day's worth of chapters. I believe that this was not much for everyone. Adding it up, it would only be the price of a bottle of soft drink for a month. If you read it on the 17K mobile app website, everyone could choose to pay for a month. It was more cost-effective, and you could read all the books on the website. If you drank one less soft drink, you could read the original version for a month. The author could also see everyone's support, and they would be more motivated to write. The most important thing to see whether a book was successful or not was the sales results. This was also the only way the author could prove himself to the website. Other than that, everything else was meaningless. I hope everyone can understand. This was already the author's 5th book. It was also the 5th time he had written the acceptance speech. Thinking back, it had been 4 years since 2011. Chapter 203. Compared to the second round, Lu Guanming and Ling Han's performance was even more eye-catching than the 3 heroes of the Phone Clan. But from another perspective, the 3 heroes of the Phone Clan were only 16 or 17 years old. Their future achievements might not be lower than Lu Guanming and Ling Han's. Ling Han has also comprehended the extreme Yin charm. Long Yu observed the scene and nodded to himself. It seemed that Ling Han had absorbed the power of the extreme Yin fragment. Since he grew up in the Ling clan's villa, he had a deep understanding of the extreme Yin law. However, releasing the charm of the Earth Seal rank Heavenly Monument law consumed too much Xian Qi. Ling Han, who was only in the 1st level of the true spirit realm, couldn't hold on for long. Luckily, Lu Guanming cooperated with him. Otherwise, Ling Han alone wouldn't be able to do anything in this round. In the field, Lu Guanming scared off a 1,000-thread sect disciple with a shout. Then, he finally released his true spirit. Mount Tai true spirit suppress. Lu Guanming's true spirit was actually a huge mountain as well. As soon as it appeared, it instantly suppressed the 2 Rain Sword sect disciples in front of him with a tyrannical aura. Mighty Heaven Sword Art, Boulder Earth Fist. Ling Han and Lu Guanming attacked from the front and back, forcing the 2 Rain Sword sect disciples to admit defeat in a hurry. In this situation, admitting defeat was better than losing their lives. The entire 3rd round of the Battle Royale was Ling Han and Lu Guanming's performance. This caused the surrounding tens of thousands of spectators to discuss and point at the battlefield, each envious and jealous. The heaven-suppressing sect could actually produce such a powerful disciple, which was simply enviable. In the end, only 5 people could stay in the 3rd round. When the disciples of the 1,000-thread sect and the falling Rain Sword sect all admitted defeat, there were only 3 disciples of the sky-suppressing sect and 2 disciples of the Ice School left. These 5 people were the final winners of the 3rd round. Each person could obtain 3 martial arrows for their respective sections. This way, the Jintian clan had a total of 19 martial arrows, surpassing the 1,000-thread sect. The Ice sect also had 12 martial arrows, which was the same as the 1,000-thread sect. Every sect had their own strong phase. The 2nd and 3rd rounds were the Jintian clan's show, but it was hard to say what would happen next. The 4th round was a battle royale between disciples in the 2nd layer of the true spirit realm. The Jintian clan did not have a single disciple in this realm. Whether it was Lu Guanming or Ling Han, they would not be able to step into the 2nd level of the true spirit realm in a short period of time. It was even more impossible for Liao Lele to jump 2 levels in a row. Even if one of them stepped into the 2nd level of the true spirit secret realm, it would be difficult for them to make any waves in the 4th round. In the 4th round, the Ice sect and the glamorous pavilion were at their strongest. The Ice sect had 3 disciples at the second level of the true spirit's secret realm, and they all cultivated special martial skills. The martial skills they learned worked together to form a powerful combination. It was a pity that the Jintian clan was missing this round. No matter how powerful the 3 from the Ice sect were, they would not be able to escape the elimination in the end. 2 days later, the 4th round began. As expected, without the Jintian clan's cooperation, the 3 from the Ice sect were in a passive position from beginning to end, facing the attacks of the other 3 sections. Soon, after the 3 defeated the disciples of the Fire Hiding Palace and the Broken Blade sect, they surrendered and left the stage. This round was destined to be the stage for the Thousand Thread sect and the Glamorous Pavilion. There were a total of 23 disciples at the second level of the true spirit secret realm from the 7 sects, but only 3 won in the end. After half a day of twists and turns, the Thousand Thread sect won 2 disciples, and the Glamorous Pavilion won 1. They each won 4 martial arrows for their sections. In this way, the Thousand Thread sect had a total of 20 martial arrows, which was 1 more than the Jintian clan. Long Yu, it's up to you now. The members of the Jintian clan were not in a good mood, but when they thought that Long Yu would be participating in the next round, they all felt relieved. There were a total of 15 disciples at the 3rd level of the True Spirit's secret realm from the 7 sections. According to the rules, only 2 people could win in the end. The Jintian clan sent Long Yu and Zhuge Jian, while the Ice sect sent a pair of siblings at the 3rd level of the True Spirit's secret realm, a total of 4 people. Many people still did not think that their situation was optimistic. Although Long Yu and Lu Yuan's cooperation could injure Long Ji, without Lu Yuan's help, Long Yu would be at the heart of the struggle. Could he last until the end? Before the 5th round began, Long Yu had already become the focus of everyone's attention. The 5th round was about to begin. Long Yu still had not comprehended the 9 underworld's principle and entered the 4th level of the true spirit's secret realm. However, he was not in a hurry, as he needed time to break through the bottleneck. Anyway, with his current strength, he would have no problem fighting 10 people at once. It was extremely easy. In this chaotic battle, Long Yu was sure that this was his personal performance. The indifferent young man, Zhuge Jian, was wearing a purple robe and holding a purple sword sheath. He looked at Long Yu coldly, feeling very unhappy. Why was it that Long Yu and he were both at the 3rd level of the true spirit's secret realm, but everyone only paid attention to Long Yu and ignored Zhuge Jian's existence? Could it be that Zhuge Jian, who had been training outside for many years, was not as good as an 18-year-old boy? Thinking of the words that left Duke Chu Chaosheng had told him not long ago, Zhuge Jian's hand that was holding the sword trembled. Should he really do as that person said? After a long time, when everyone stepped onto the Imperial Army dojo, Zhuge Jian finally steadied his hand that was holding the sword. He had decided that he would do as Left Duke Chu Chaosheng said and fight. Whether he succeeded or not, it would be beneficial to him. Junior brother Long Yu, let's work together and defeat them. A smile appeared on Zhuge Jian's indifferent face as he stepped onto the Imperial Army dojo with Long Yu. Okay. Long Yu nodded, but he was thinking, what's wrong with this Zhuge Jian? He didn't even say a word before, but now he's taking the initiative to strike up a conversation. Although they were going to work together, this situation was a bit abnormal. There must be something wrong with this abnormal situation. Long Yu's heart was secretly on guard. He raised his head and looked around. He found that more than 90% of the tens of thousands of people in the Imperial Army dojo were looking at him. Long Yu was not used to the feeling of being the center of attention. What he was best at was actually waiting for his prey in the shadows. However, under the pressure of strength, it did not matter whether he was used to it or not. He then looked at the disciples of the various sections. There were a total of 15 people, including him, including 2 from the Jintian clan and the Ice sect. Other than that, the Fire Hidden Palace and the Broken Blade sect each had 3, the Qingqing Pavilion had 1, and the Rainsword sect and the Thousand Thread sect each had 2. The disciples of the third LV3 true spirit realm were not even 25 years old, and they were considered top geniuses in the entire Tang Empire. One must know that most of these disciples would be able to step into the fourth LV4 true spirit realm in the near future and form a true spirit body. The reason why the seven-sect martial competition attracted so much attention was that the young disciples on the dojo would mostly shine in the Tang Empire in the future. There were hundreds of thousands of people in the Tang Empire's martial army. Although most of them were in the 8th or 9th LV8 martial path, they were too old to make any progress. Although they were all in the 8th or 9th LV8 martial path, the disciples participating in the seven-sect martial competition had a much higher status. Seeing the fire-hidden palace and the broken blade sect glaring at him, Long Yu looked calm on the surface, as if he didn't place them in his eyes. However, he was secretly on guard. No matter what, he couldn't underestimate his opponent. Otherwise, it would be easy for him to fail miserably. The fifth round of the free-for-all begins. In the largest spectator stand, Chu Chaosheng, who was dressed in a golden imperial robe, stood up. This was the first time he had stood up to watch a free-for-all in so many days. His mature and charming face was filled with interest. It was obvious that he was very interested in Long Yu. With Chu Chaosheng's begin, everyone in the arena began to move, except for Long Yu. Long Yu still stood calmly on the spot. He didn't take the initiative to attack, because the moment he moved, it would be easy for him to reveal an opening and give the enemy a chance to break through. Junior brother Long, I'll help you. Zhuge Jin took out the long sword from the purple scabbard and held it in his hand. He took a few steps forward and stood back-to-back with Long Yu. Just like Ling Han and Lu Guanming in the third round, he took a defensive stance. Two Ice Sect disciples also subconsciously approached Long Yu. However, when they saw that almost everyone in the arena was charging at Long Yu, the two Ice Sect disciples immediately felt weak. Holy crap, what's going on? It wasn't just the disciples of the Fire-Hidden Palace, the Broken Blade Sect, and the Qingxing Pavilion. Even the disciples of the Thousand Thread Sect and the Falling Rain Sword Sect charged at Long Yu at the same time. The two Ice Sect disciples could only wander around in the outer circle, not daring to approach. Broken Blade Domain. A Broken Blade Sect disciple's eyes flashed with a fierce light. His figure flashed, and with his extremely fast speed, he instantly appeared in front of Long Yu and slashed out with a saber light. Break! Long Yu casually threw out a punch. His thunderbolt mighty body was tempered by heavenly thunder. This simple punch, which didn't contain any power, actually shattered the saber light. The Broken Blade Sect disciple quickly retreated. He knew that Long Yu was very powerful, so he couldn't fight Long Yu head-on. Let's take turns to harass him and exhaust his Xian Qi first. No one knew who shouted, but the 11 Genius Sect disciples at the third level of the True Spirit Secret Realm surrounded Long Yu and Zhuge Jin. They kept attacking Long Yu with their martial skills from afar. They had no intention of approaching him at all. In the fifth round, Long Yu of the Jintian clan fought against the disciples at LV3 of the True Spirit Secret Realm all by himself. Many people shook their heads when they saw the crowd begin to exhaust Long Yu's Xian Qi. If Long Yu didn't take the initiative to attack, he would eventually be defeated. However, Long Yu kept his composure and stood still, enduring the bombardment of the martial skills. Zhuge Jin, who was behind him, would also block some of the attacks for him. However, in Long Yu's heart, he simply did not place those people's attacks in his eyes. What he was most wary of was Zhuge Jin, who was behind him. Finally, Long Yu pretended to have insufficient Xian Qi and said in a low voice, "Senior brother Zhuge, I can't hold on any longer. Let's take the initiative to attack." Okay. Hearing this, Zhuge Jin's eyes lit up. He swung his long sword and shouted. Then, he turned around and swung his sword at Long Yu. This scene caused an uproar among the crowd. Chapter 204. As Zhuge Jin turned around and stabbed his sword at Long Yu's neck, the crowd gasped. In an occasion like the martial competition of the seven sects, there was actually someone who openly turned the tables and attacked someone from their own sect. It was truly shocking. Such a situation was rarely seen in the history of the Tang Empire. Everyone from the Jintian clan stood up from their seats. Their faces were filled with anger. Zhuge Jian was so shameless. He must have been bribed by someone. As for the person who bribed him, it was most likely the left duke, Chu Chaosheng. At that moment, Zhuge Jian and Long Yu stood with their backs to each other. There was almost no distance between them. When Zhuge Jian turned around and stabbed his sword, Long Yu had no time to react. However, no one expected that he had been guarding against Zhuge Jian from the very beginning. Lunar wings! Long Yu shouted. Immediately, the lunar wings spread out from his back, emitting a surge of lunar qi. At that moment, the lunar force descended upon the arena. Zhuge Jian, who was close at hand, was shrouded in the lunar force. The boundless extreme Frost power caused Zhuge Jian's body to completely stiffen, and he barely managed to release his heaven-suppressing domain. After resisting for a while, he realized that Long Yu had already taken the opportunity to turn around and punch him. Dragon Fist of the Nine Nether. Long Yu's reaction speed was beyond everyone's expectations. This punch at such a close distance made it even more impossible for Zhuge Jian to dodge. The energy of the netherworld exploded out. Almost at the same moment that Zhuge Jian attacked with his sword, Long Yu released the lunar force and threw a punch at him. This punch was the most basic dragon fist of the Nine Nether. He didn't use the road to the underworld or the spirit of the underworld. However, there was no way that Zhuge Jian could block such a punch. Kill! With a bang, Zhuge Jian, who was dressed in purple, was sent flying by the punch and fell heavily onto the ground. The qi of the underworld entered his body in an instant. He wanted to launch a sneak attack on Long Yu and take the opportunity to kill Long Yu so that he could claim credit with Chu Chaosheng. Unfortunately, he was seen through by Long Yu and was sent flying with a single punch. All the meridians in his body were damaged, and even his dantian was severely injured. His cultivation was destroyed in a single day. Courting death. When facing a fellow that launched a surprise attack like this, Long Yu naturally had no reason to spare him, and he directly circulated the ninth hell energy within his body to destroy his dantian. All of this happened in a short span of 1 or 2 breaths. It was so fast that the people around them did not have time to react before Zhuge Jian was sent flying by Long Yu and had his cultivation destroyed. Since the lunar force has been released, let's continue killing. A bright light flickered in Long Yu's eyes. He didn't take the 11 people around him seriously at all. With a wave of his hand, the lunar wings unfurled and carried him up into the sky. Dragon Spear of the Nine Nether, 10,000 kill. Long Yu's figure descended from the sky. A pair of lunar wings unfurled, making him look like a descending eagle. His spear carried boundless murderous intent as it charged toward a Broken Blade sect disciple. That Broken Blade sect disciple was the expert that released the Broken Blade realm. He was considered one of the best among the Broken Blade sect disciples. However, at this moment, when faced with Long Yu's spear, he only had the thought of escaping. He did not have the courage to fight back. Run. However, could his speed compare to Long Yu's? The Dragon Spear of the Nine Nether was like a maggot attached to a bone. With a strong murderous intent, it sent the Broken Blade sect disciple flying. He landed heavily at the edge of the Imperial Army's dojo and did not move an inch. Long Yu's spear had already shattered the Broken Blade sect disciple's meridians, and he immediately lost his life. Let me remind you that there are so many of you attacking me. In a moment of desperation, I can't hold back. Don't blame me if you lose your life. Long Yu held the Dragon Spear of the Nine Nether and extended the lunar wings on his back. He turned around and stood proudly. His eyes swept across the remaining 10 third-layer true Spirit Realm disciples. The corner of his mouth curled up as he reminded them with a cold smile. Lose your life. 1,000 Thread sect disciple sneered. This kid is only bluffing. How is it possible for us to surrender? That's right. Although Long Yu is strong, we're not weak either. If we join forces against him, It's impossible for us to lose. He won't be able to last long alone. Let's continue to exhaust his Xian Qi and exhaust him. They all thought that Long Yu was bluffing. However, a cold light flashed across Long Yu's eyes. Was he bluffing? I'm only reminding you that I'm giving you the chance to surrender. Since you don't want to surrender, don't blame me. In the next moment, Long Yu's body turned into a gray flowing light and suddenly appeared behind the sneering thousand-thread sect disciple. You're saying that I'm bluffing? Long Yu said indifferently. The dragon spear of the nine nether pierced through the dantian of the thousand-thread sect disciple at an extremely fast speed with boundless killing intent. Long Yu didn't need to use any tricks to deal with a third-layer true spirit realm thousand-thread sect disciple. He could directly crush him with his strength. The speed and shadow illusions that the thousand-thread sect disciple was so proud of were useless against Long Yu's even faster speed. In an instant, the thousand-thread sect disciple died. Dong! 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 The hearts of the remaining 9 people sped up, and beads of sweat rolled down their foreheads. This Long Yu is so fast that they couldn't react at all. Let's gather together. Someone immediately suggested. As long as the remaining 9 people gathered together, no matter who Long Yu wanted to deal with, they would be able to react quickly and launch a fatal attack on Long Yu. However, as they gathered together, they realized that their thinking was too naive. 9 nether explosion! Long Yu punched the ground, and immediately, the ground where the 9 of them were gathered exploded with a 9 nether explosion, forming a pillar of 9 nether chi that suddenly shot up. This sudden change caused the 9 people to be frightened, and all of them hurriedly fled to the side. However, there were still 2 people who couldn't dodge in time and were hit by the 9 nether explosion. They couldn't resist at all. Their meridians were instantly eroded by the 9 nether chi. Heaven-suppressing spear technique. Layers of spear shadows. Long Yu waved the dragon spear of the 9 nether in his hand and instantly swept out layers of spear shadows, killing a hidden fire sect disciple who was fleeing in a hurry. Long Yu used his actions to prove that he wasn't bluffing. He didn't want to kill in the 7-sect martial competition, but the martial skills that he cultivated were all martial skills that killed people. He gave these people a chance to admit defeat, but they thought he was bluffing and still wanted to join forces to deal with him. If that was the case, what did Long Yu have to feel guilty about? In an instant, there were only 5 people left from the 11 people who were originally surrounding Long Yu. The other 6 people were either dead or disabled. They had all lost their ability to fight. Such a scene shocked everyone, and it happened in an instant. When they saw this scene, someone finally couldn't sit still any longer. Stop! A shout came from the spectator area of the Hidden Fire sect. Then, a figure in a red robe stepped out and quickly attacked the battlefield. It was the palace master of the Hidden Fire sect, Hua Haishan. Long Yu had killed Hua Haishan's son, Huafu, and he had yet to take revenge. Now, Long Yu was actually slaughtering his Hidden Fire sect disciple in front of him. How could he tolerate this? As Hua Haishan appeared, the sect master of the Broken Blade sect, Chu Shanwu, the burly man, also held a broken blade and leaped toward the battlefield at an extremely fast speed. The talent that Long Yu had displayed was truly too frightening. They absolutely wouldn't allow such an existence to truly grow. The pavilion master of the Qingqing Pavilion, the lady in red, Fong Qiaoyan, didn't do anything. Her eyes flashed. She realized that although Long Yu had killed many people, he didn't touch the female disciple of the Qingqing Pavilion. Under such circumstances, there was no need for her to make a move. When Hua Haishan and Chu Shanwu, the sect masters and sect masters of the 2 major sects, attacked the battlefield, the tens of thousands of people in the imperial army turned to look at the left duke, Chu Chaosheng, who was in the largest spectator area. Chu Chaosheng's eyes narrowed slightly. He hadn't expected Long Yu to be so courageous. He already knew that Long Yu's strength was extraordinary, but he hadn't expected that even 11 sect disciples of the same martial path realm wouldn't be a match for Long Yu. Even the pawn that he had secretly bribed, Zhuge Jian, didn't have any effect. Naturally, Chu Chaosheng could tell that Zhuge Jian's sneak attack had failed not because he was too weak, but because Long Yu was too vigilant. This kind of kid was really too difficult to deal with. Chu Chaosheng didn't make any moves. He just watched as the two sect masters, Hua Haishan and Chu Shanwu, rushed toward Long Yu. Dream on! Bai Yunzong, who was in the Jintian clan, immediately shouted when he saw this. The true form of the long spear appeared behind him, and he dashed toward the battlefield at an extremely fast speed, blocking Hua Haishan's path. The sect master of the ice sect, Tang Qin, also made a move. Her ice domain immediately blocked Chu Shanwu's advance. In the 7-sect martial competition, the sect masters and sect masters of the 4 major sects were actually fighting against each other, and the cause was a Jintian clan disciple who was in the 3rd level of the true spirit realm. Tang Qin, do you really want to become enemies with my broken saber sect? Chu Shanwu said in a deep and gruff voice. One could see that the broken saber in his hand was already covered in a thick layer of ice. Tang Qin's martial path realm was comparable to his. At this moment, it was impossible for him to break through Tang Qin's obstruction. Chu Shanwu, I'm just reminding you not to break the rules. Tang Qin chuckled. Her graceful figure under the sky-blue silk robe was surrounded by dancing ice and snow, looking incomparably beautiful. The 7-sect martial competition was a competition between the younger generation, and the elders couldn't interfere. This was an iron rule. However, Hua Haishan and Chu Shanwu had ignored this rule and wanted to attack Long Yu. If others said that Tang Qin was in the right, she naturally wasn't afraid. Bai Yunzong was the same. He and Tang Qin had only stopped 2 fellows who wanted to break the rules of the 7-sect martial competition. However, at this moment, another shout came from outside the battlefield. Stinking brat! You dare to slaughter the disciples of the major sects at the 7-sect martial competition? You're simply courting death. Today, I, Wang Ju, will help the left prince clean up a vermin like you. Chapter 205. In the Great Tang Imperial City, there were too many people who wanted to deal with Long Yu. Just among the 4 great families, 3 of them wanted Long Yu's life. The Wang family, the Yuqi family, and the Luo family. The Wang family's chief steward Gu Hibo and patriarch Wang Ju's son, Wang Yuanshun, had gone to deal with Long Yu and Lu Yuan, but they never returned. In the end, it was discovered that they had died in the frigid Pond Valley, and not even their corpses could be found. Whether or not Long Yu had killed Wang Yuanshun, Wang Ju could only place his hatred on Long Yu. As for the Luo family, the Luo family's young master, Luo Zixing, was playing in the mountains when Long Yu snatched away his combat weapon and whipped him in the face. This whip was not just a slap on Luo Zixing's face, but the entire Luo family's face. As for the Yuqi family's young master, Yuqi Tao, this was a personal grudge, but also made the Yuqi family have a bad impression of Long Yu, who asked him to bully the Yuqi family's young master. Because of the deep hatred between him and Long Yu, Wang Ju could no longer restrain himself and immediately leaped up to attack. The sect master and the patriarch have both made a move. This Long Yu is truly formidable. This is undoubtedly a violation of the rules of the 7 sects tournament. But as long as Chu Chaosheng doesn't say anything, who can stop them? That's right. It seems that Chu Chaosheng also wants to suppress this Long Yu. Chu Chaosheng had not said a single word from beginning to end, only quietly watching from the side. And just as Wang Ju was about to reach the center of the Imperial Army dojo, a blood-colored fist suddenly pierced through from the side and landed on the unprepared Wang Ju. This blood-colored fist was extremely terrifying. Even Wang Ju, who had reached the true spirit as one realm, could not withstand it. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Someone was helping Long Yu. Instantly, this scene caused everyone present to become even more excited. Bai Yunzong and Tang Qin had each blocked Yu Haishan and Chu Shanwu, but they had only blocked them and had not truly fought. Even if they had been evenly matched. But now that Wang Ju had made his move, he was sent flying by the blood-colored fist light and vomited blood. This undoubtedly showed that the person who attacked was much stronger than Wang Ju. Many people looked in the direction of the blood-red fist light, only to find that it was just an ordinary spectator stand. There were no special people there, only a few martial cultivators who had just reached the true spirit realm. Who was it that had unleashed this blood-colored fist light? Many people's hearts were as clear as a mirror, and they immediately guessed something. Especially Chu Chaosheng, when he saw the blood-colored fist light, he immediately narrowed his eyes. Old man, in the end, you still couldn't help but make a move. But even you can't protect your grandson this time. On the Imperial Army's dojo, Long Yu had naturally seen the scene of Wang Ju being sent flying by the blood-colored fist radiance. Yes, Grandpa. Long Yu's heart skipped a beat. He had easily guessed the other party's identity because he had seen the blood-colored fist light before. It was the Long family's transcendent spirit, grade, martial skill, blood dragon killing fist. Seeing this situation, of course, Long Yu knew that no one else would come to disturb him. Immediately, he turned his attention back to the remaining 5 sect disciples. The 5 of them had escaped in a sorry state, dodging the 9 nether explosive flow. Seeing the shocking change in the dojo, the way they looked at Long Yu changed. This kid was simply a monster. In the past few decades, when had such a terrifying talent appeared in the Tang Empire? Not to mention the fact that there were only 5 of them. Even if there were 50 of them, they might not be a match for Long Yu. When they saw Long Yu's gaze return to them, they all shivered. I admit defeat. I also admit defeat. You win. The remaining 5 people had all lost their will to fight. If they continued to fight, it was highly likely that all 5 of them would die in the Imperial Army's dojo. That would not be worth it. Although they felt that if they continued to fight with Long Yu, they might be able to wait until he was exhausted and his Xian Qi was exhausted, they dared not take the risk. No one knew how much power Long Yu could exert, and no one knew how much Xian Qi he had left in his body. No one was willing to play around with their own lives. Surrendering had become their only choice. The 5th round of the martial arts competition of the 7 sects had become Long Yu's personal performance. He had killed Zhuge Jian, who had launched a sneak attack with the force of a thunderbolt. In a few breaths, he had killed 6 opponents who were at the same level as him. He had even attracted the attention of the sect leaders and clan leaders. In the end, no one could do anything to Long Yu. On the dojo, only Long Yu and 2 ice sect disciples were left. There were 3 people on the dojo, but this round only allowed 2 people to stay. I admit defeat. Seeing this, one of the ice sect disciples immediately raised his hands. He knew that the 2 ice sect disciples could not fight against Long Yu, so it was better to just admit defeat. This round, the ice sect and the Jintian clan were also winners. In fact, if Zhuge Jian had not turned against them, it would have been more troublesome. But now it was easy. The Jintian clan and the ice sect each won 1 person, and they won 5 martial arrows for their sections. Since then, the Jintian clan had 24 martial arrows for more than 1,000 thread sect. With the 5 martial arrows, the ice sect was only 3 away from the 1,000 thread sect. The fact proved that the ice sect, which had teamed up with the Jintian clan at the beginning, was much better off than the fire hiding temple, the broken knife sect, the falling rainsword sect, and the Qingqing pavilion. The fire hiding temple, the broken knife sect, and the falling rainsword sect, the 3 sects only had 2 martial arrows, which was pitifully few. With the end of this round, Hua Haishan and Chu Shanwu did not have a chance to fight against Long Yu, so they could only leave with their respective sects' disciples. In this round, they each lost 3 disciples of the LV3 True Spirit Realm, which was a heavy loss. This even caused the overall strength of their sects to drop by a level. As for Wang Ju, after being injured by the blood-colored fist radiance, he did not dare to stay any longer and hurriedly left the dojo with the Wang family. Of course, he knew who had injured him, but he did not expect that the old man was really protecting Long Yu. This made Wang Ju very unwilling. However, so what if he was unwilling? He was the master of the Wang family. How could he fight against the old man? Even if he was injured in front of everyone and lost face, he could only grit his teeth and swallow his anger. Young friend Long Yu of the Jintian clan is really surprising. This round has made us remember the name Long Yu. Chu Chaosheng stood up and said this with a smile, then left with his people. Near Chu Chaosheng, the princess dressed in a snow-white silk robe cast a smile at Long Yu. It was obvious that she was even more interested in him. Golden armor Long Su followed beside the imperial princess, feeling indignant. What right did this Long? You have to be in the limelight. As for him, Long Su, he could only silently guard beside the imperial princess. No one knew just how powerful he, Long Su, was. His strength could only be displayed in front of his enemies. Those who saw his true strength could only die. Because of this, Long Su could not display his strength to his heart's content like Long Yu. However, what he didn't know was that Long Yu hadn't even brought out 10% of his true strength. What other tricks did he need to use against someone in the same realm? There was no need at all. Before Long Yu left, he looked around but could not find anyone who looked like his grandfather. Why did he not show up? Long Yu was puzzled. He wanted to see his grandfather and understand more about his father, but since the other party did not show up, there was nothing he could do. He could only leave first. The next round was the Rank 4 True Spirit Realm Battle Royale. This would be the last battle of the Battle Royale, and each sect would only send 1 or 2 people at the 4th layer of the True Spirit Realm to participate in the battle. Apart from Yu Qianing of the Thousand Thread sect, this battle royale was a battle for the strongest disciples of each sect. The number 1 core disciple of the Jintian clan walked away. The number 1 core disciple of the Broken Blade sect was annihilated. The 2 of them had long been part of the top 9 young experts of the Tang Kingdom, ranked 8th and 9th respectively, and their strength was unfathomable. Lu Yuan and Bai Lin Sha of the Qingchang Pavilion were originally the number 1 and number 2 core disciples. Now that the rankings had changed, the Qingchang Pavilion became the only sect with 2 rank 4 true Spirit Realm disciples. The number 1 core disciple of the Rainsword sect, Qi Guang, had bought a Star Sea sword, a supreme spiritual level combat weapon, at the Lu family's trading world. It had greatly increased his strength, and he would definitely shine in the martial competition of the 7th sect. Other than that, the number 1 core disciple of the Ice sect, Ouyang Ming, the number 1 core disciple of the Hidden Fire Palace, Yu Xiao, and the core disciple of the Thousand Thread sect, Yu Qimei, were all rank 4 true Spirit Realm experts and had already gained some fame in the Tang Kingdom. Among them, the youth from the Thousand Thread sect, Yu Qimei, was famous in the entire Tang Kingdom and was not inferior to Princess Qianing. This youth, Yu Qimei, was only 14 years old and had already stepped into the rank 4 true Spirit Realm. He was the number 1 genius of the Tang Kingdom. With so many experts about to enter the arena, the martial competition of the 7th sect was pushed to the climax. Even if they didn't come to watch the previous matches, they must come to watch the battle for the strongest disciple. Junior Brother Long, let me ask you a question. On the way back, Bufang quietly found Long Yu and asked in a low voice, "Who will your woman help in this round?" "My woman?" Long Yu was taken aback. "Lu Yuan," Bufang explained. "She's not my woman." Long Yu shook his head. "As for who she will help, I don't know. Senior Brother Bu, just be careful. She and I are just ordinary friends, and we don't have a deep relationship." "That's not good." Bufang frowned when he heard that. If Lu Yuan didn't stand on his side, then he and Ouyang Ming from the Ice sect would definitely lose against the others. The rules of the 6th round of the free-for-all were different from the previous 5 rounds. In the 6th round, the martial arrows would be rewarded according to the ranking. The 1st to 8th place would be decided according to the order of elimination. The last person standing on the arena would be the first to receive 6 martial arrows, the second would receive 5, the third would receive 4, and so on. Chapter 206. The Qingchang Pavilion was their temporary residence in the Great Tang Imperial City. Lu Yuan and Bai Lin Sha, the 2 4th-rank true Spirit Secret Realm disciples, were in the same room as Feng Xiaoyan discussing something. "I believe that we have the advantage in the 6th round." There's no need to work with the Fire Hidden Hall and the Broken Blade sect, Lu Yuan said calmly, and it turns out that working with them in the first few rounds was a wrong decision. Lu Yuan, are you accusing the Pavilion Master of making a wrong decision? How dare you? Bai Lin Sha said coldly, not letting go of any chance to attack Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan glanced at Bai Lin Sha, not caring about her at all. In fact, Lu Yuan had already tried to persuade Fang Xiaoyan to work with the Jintian clan. Unfortunately, Fang Xiaoyan did not listen, which was why things had turned out this way. Putting everything else aside, just take the 5th round, the round where Long Yu went on stage. Lu Yuan was 100% sure that Long Yu would be the final winner, but Fang Xiaoyan did not believe it. In the end, Long Yu killed everyone and shocked everyone. Fang Xiaoyan must be regretting it, but she could not show it in front of the 2 disciples. Especially after hearing Lu Yuan's words, she was dissatisfied with Lu Yuan. Am I the Pavilion Master, or are you the Pavilion Master? I, Fang Xiaoyan, do not need Lu Yuan to tell me what to do. Fang Xiaoyan said coldly. There's no need to talk about this. Since we're working with the Fire Hidden Hall and the Broken Blade sect, we should work together to the end. When we're on the stage, the 2 of you will try your best to cooperate with Yu Xiao and Duan Mie and kick that boo-boo off the stage. Our target is the Thousand Thread sect. If we deliberately target the Jintian clan, we might let the Thousand Thread sect reap the benefits and win. Lu Yuan could not help but say. Although the Thousand Thread sect had 4 fewer arrows than the Jintian clan, this gap could be easily closed. Once the Thousand Thread sect won the 7-clan martial competition, the 6 sects would have the hand over their mental cultivation techniques. The impact would be far-reaching. So what if the Thousand Thread sect wins? Fang Xiaoyun said coldly. As long as you do as I say, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Then, Fang Xiaoyan stood up and left the room. Her eyes were shining brightly. Indeed, whether the Thousand Thread sect won or not had little to do with Fang Xiaoyan. Even if the Thousand Thread sect couldn't recruit new disciples because of this and declined for a long time, she, Fang Xiaoyan, would already be old by then. What did this matter have to do with her? When she thought of the benefits that Hua Haishan and Chu Shanwu, the 2 sect masters, had promised her, she knew that this was what Fang Xiaoyan truly wanted. In the room, Lu Yuan watched as Fang Xiaoyan turned around and left. There was no emotion in her eyes. She did not expect Fang Xiaoyan, as the pavilion master of the glamorous pavilion, to be so unconcerned about the outcome of the 7-sect martial competition, especially when they would have to hand over their sect's mental cultivation technique if they lost. He has already failed several times, but he is still so persistent in working with the Hidden Fire Temple and Broken Blade sect. Could it be that he has received some benefits from them? Lu Yuan could not help but be suspicious. No matter what, she made a decision in her heart. Junior sister Lu Yuan, I advise you to listen to the Pavilion Master. There are some things that disciples like us cannot control. Bai Lin Sha purposely sneered and mocked them. Bai Lin Sha. Lu Yuan turned her head and looked at the young girl in white. She said calmly, I, Lu Yuan, have never offended you. Just because someone said that my strength has surpassed yours, you are targeting me. Why do you have to do this? Do you really think that your strength has surpassed mine? Bai Lin Sha raised her eyebrows in anger. Do you want to prove that you are stronger than me? Lu Yuan smiled disdainfully. Then prove it to me during the 7-sect martial competition. These words were undoubtedly a declaration of Lu Yuan's determination. In the next round, she would definitely not listen to Fang Xiaoyan's arrangements like Bai Lin Sha. Only then would she go against Bai Lin Sha. Bai Lin Sha wasn't stupid. She understood what Lu Yuan was trying to say and became even angrier. Lu Yuan, do you really dare to disobey the Pavilion Master's orders? Bai Lin Sha shouted angrily. How can someone who does not even care about the mental cultivation technique of the sect be qualified to be the Pavilion Master of the glamorous pavilion? Lu Yuan sneered. With such a Pavilion Master, the glamorous pavilion will be destroyed sooner or later. With that, Lu Yuan stood up and left the room. In a flash, she turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Bai Lin Sha did not hesitate and immediately ran out to inform Fong Xiaoyan. It seemed like Lu Yuan was going to betray the sect. On this day, the sun shone brightly and the weather was beautiful. The Imperial Dojo was once again filled with people. Tens of thousands of people had gathered to watch the final round of the seven-sect martial competition. Apart from the Thousand Thread sect, the other six major sects would send their strongest disciples to compete on the same battle platform in this round of chaotic battles. The disciples of the four sects of the True Spirit Secret Realm were all ready. Originally, once the core disciples of the seven sects reached the fourth level of the True Spirit Secret Realm, they would most likely be promoted to elders. However, for this seven-sect martial competition, these core disciples did not become elders. Once they became elders, they would no longer be qualified to participate in the seven-sect martial competition. This seven-sect martial competition would determine the fate of the seven sects' mental cultivation techniques. Bufang stepped onto the Imperial Dojo. From the I sect, a young man in a blue robe, Ouyang Ming, also walked onto the dojo and stood together with Bufang. The most eye-catching person was from the Thousand Thread sect. The young genius, Yu Qimei, was only 14 years old. He had a faint smile on his young face, making him look extremely mysterious. The young swordsman from the Rain Sword sect, Qi Guang, had a Star Sea sword hanging from his waist. He strode into the Imperial Dojo confidently. The Hidden Fire sect, the Broken Blade sect, and the Qingqing Pavilion had formed an obvious alliance. Yu Xiao, Duan Mia, and Bai Linsha gathered together as soon as they entered the dojo. No, that's not right. Where is Lu Yuan from the Qingqing Pavilion going? Under everyone's gaze, Lu Yuan, who was dressed in black and had snow-white hair, was walking towards the Jintian clan. In the dojo, Bufang saw this and smiled as he greeted, "Junior Sister Lu, welcome, welcome." Last night, Long Yu had told Bufang that Lu Yuan had decided to stand on the Jintian clan's side in this round. This made the pavilion master of the Qingqing Pavilion, Fong Xiaoyan, so angry that her face turned green. Bai Lincha's eyes were also filled with anger and jealousy. As for the tens of thousands of martial cultivators in the dojo, they were all shocked. The Jintian clan had Zhuge Jian, who had betrayed them at the last minute. Was Lu Yuan going to do the same? Or could it be that Lu Yuan and Long Yu's relationship was so good that it had surpassed the relationship between the two sects? After all, everyone knew that Long Yu and Lu Yuan had an inexplicable relationship. No matter what, Lu Yuan was still standing firmly on the Jintian clan side. As such, the Jintian clan was not at a disadvantage in a 3 versus 3 battle. The biggest variable was still Yu Qimei from the Thousand Thread sect. No one knew how strong this 14-year-old youth was. The battle begins now. On the spectator stand, the golden-robed left Wang Ye, Chu Chaosheng, gave the order. Following his words, everyone in the dojo immediately moved. The falling Rain Sword sect's Qi Guang locked onto the Thousand Thread sect's Yu Qimei the moment he stepped onto the stage. This was because Yu Qimei was the one with the highest cheers. He, Qi Guang, would definitely defeat this kid and let everyone see his strength. The Star Sea sword was about to shine in Qi Guang's hand. Under Qi Guang's fierce attack, Yu Qimei had no choice but to give up on the idea of fighting the Jintian clan first. Although he was only 14 years old, he was very mature. At this moment, he could only use all his strength to deal with Qi Guang's fierce attack. There were a total of 8 disciples at the 4th level of the True Spirit Realm. After Qi Guang and Yu Qimei faced off, the remaining 6 people were divided into 2 camps. If Lu Yuan did not stand on the side of the Jintian clan, this battle would not be worth watching. But now, the 3 versus 3 battle would be extremely exciting. Hidden Fire Domain, Cold Ice Domain. Yu Xiao from the Hidden Fire Temple released the Hidden Fire Domain from the beginning. A sea of fire suddenly rose around his body. Ouyang Ming from the Ice Sect did not want to be outdone. He released the Cold Ice Domain and held his longsword. A cold sword chi broke through the sea of fire and attacked Yu Xiao's face like a meteor. This was a battle of ice and fire. The Hidden Fire Temple and the ice sect originally had some enmity. At this moment, the enmity between Yu Xiao and Ouyang Ming exploded. Duan Mie, an old rival. Bu Fong took a step forward and stared at Duan Mie. Duan Mie wore a black robe and held a broken saber. Only his eyes were exposed, and they were full of killing intent. He and Bu Fong were indeed old rivals. When they first competed for the ranking of the Tang Empire's 9 young experts, they fought more than once. Later, because of the incident with Wu Jianxin and Yu Shuiyun, they also fought each other. At this moment, in the grandest 7-sect martial arts seminar of the Tang Empire, they finally faced each other head-on. Broken Saber Domain. Duan Mie activated the qi in his body. Suddenly, the area around him was filled with the shadows of broken sabers, which increased his speed to an extremely terrifying level. Then, Bu Fong released the true spirit of the Sky Eagle. The pressure of the heaven-suppressing domain descended and instantly contended with Duan Mie's broken saber domain. Duan Mie's speed suddenly dropped. True spirit broken saber, behead with 1 slash. Duan Mie snorted. The true spirit of the broken saber appeared behind him. Then, a broken saber light slashed down. Sky's Edge Barrier. Bu Fong did not show any weakness. He waved his hand to form the Sky's Edge Barrier as a defense. At the same time, he released several whirlwind spears and began to consume Duan Mie's qi. On the other side, Bai Linsha from the Qingcheng Pavilion attacked Lu Yuan without hesitation. Both of them were from the Qingcheng Pavilion, but in the 7-sect martial arts seminar, they were fighting each other to the death. Under the Phantom Domain, the figures of the 2 women were as light as shadows. Sword shadows flashed continuously. At first, they were evenly matched, but soon, Lu Yuan decided to show her true strength. Chapter 207. In the martial competition of the 7 sects, anyone who had mastered a mystic jade level law was guaranteed to win. As for the Taiyin law, it was a grade higher than the mystic jade level law. It was an earthly seal level sky tablet law. One could see how powerful the Taiyin law was from the previous match with Long Yu. Now, Lu Yuan had also comprehended the Taiyin law's power of heaven and earth. Facing Bai Linsha, she did not hesitate to use it to avoid any mishaps. Taiyin power, flowing light, sword shadow. As the Taiyin power surged out, Lu Yuan quickly transformed into a flowing light sword shadow. The red short swords in her hands slashed out and swept towards Bai Linsha. Bai Linsha was shocked. She had only heard that Lu Yuan had surpassed her, but she had never seen it for herself. Originally, Bai Linsha had been very confident in herself. After all, her understanding of Qingcheng Pavilion's martial techniques had surpassed Lu Yuan's by a level. But now, Lu Yuan had actually comprehended such a powerful power of heaven and earth. This is even stronger than the Long family, Mo family, and Chu family's mental cultivation laws. Bai Linsha gritted her teeth. She would never admit defeat to Lu Yuan. Flowing light, sword shadow. Bai Linsha's 2 swords also formed a flowing light sword shadow. Although she was suppressed by the Taiyin power, she was still able to use this move that she had comprehended to the highest level. The flowing light, sword shadows from both sides quickly collided. Then, Lu Yuan used the alluring dance. Her graceful figure immediately danced like a fluttering black butterfly. In an instant, she appeared behind Bai Linsha. Bai Linsha was enveloped by the Taiyin power. At that moment, even if she realized something, her body could not react. The frost from the Great Yin Force caused her movements to slow down, and her speed to decrease by more than half. Flowing light, sword shadow. Lu Yuan roared and attacked Bai Linsha from behind. If nothing went wrong, Bai Linsha would definitely not be able to block this move. But at that moment, a ball of flames suddenly attacked from the side, stopping Lu Yuan's attack from moving forward. Yu Xiao from the Fire Concealment Hall. Just as Bai Linsha was about to be defeated, Yu Xiao actually sent out a ball of flames at the critical moment, blocking Lu Yuan's killing blow. This was the martial competition of the 7 sects. It was a battle royale, not a one-on-one battle. Lu Yuan took a few steps back and steadied herself. She glanced sideways and saw that Yangming from the ice gate had been blasted off the stage by Yu Xiao's violent flames. Even the biting cold ice could not stop his flames from spreading. Yu Xiao was so much more powerful than Yangming. Soon, Lu Yuan knew why. It was because Yu Xiao was holding a flame banner in his hand. The banner had the words "Fire Concealment" engraved on it. The flame banner was the flag warrior of the Fire Hiding Palace. The flag combat weapon was the symbol of the sect, and this flaming banner had reached the level of a supreme spiritual level. A spirit-grade transcendent weapon. No wonder Yu Xiao could defeat Yangming from the ice sect so quickly. This is troublesome. Lu Yuan's heart sank. Once Yangming was defeated, she and Bu Fong would have to fight 2 against 3. The pressure on them instantly increased. Although she had comprehended the Tai Yin general force and could easily defeat Bai Lin Sha, it would not be easy to deal with Yu Xiao, who had a spirit-grade transcendent weapon. The reason why Long Yu was so strong was because she had not only comprehended the Tai Yin general force, but also possessed 2 spirit-grade transcendent weapons and cultivated a spirit-grade martial skill. Although Lu Yuan's martial arts realm was 1 level higher than Long Yu's, she was still no match for Long Yu. This showed the importance of combat weapons and martial skill grades to a martial cultivator's strength. On the other hand, Qi Guang was holding a spirit-grade transcendent sea sword. He was also beating Yu Qimei to the point where she could not fight back. One sword strike after another was swift and fierce, completely suppressing Yu Qimei's arrogance. Yangming from the ice gate had become the first to be eliminated. Who would be next? Surround her. Yu Xiao held the flame streamer and came to Bai Lin Sha's side. He shouted and immediately attacked Lu Yuan. Bai Lin Sha was still in shock. Just now, she thought she would be killed by Lu Yuan in 1 move. She was even considering whether or not to admit defeat. She did not expect Yu Xiao to finish off his opponent so quickly and come to help her. Good job. The Hidden Fire Palace's performance in the previous rounds was trash. This round was finally somewhat decent. It was worth it for Pavilion Master Fong Xiaoyan to insist on cooperating with them. Bai Lin Sha immediately began to cooperate with Yu Xiao to attack Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was not like Long Yu. She could not maintain the Tai Yin general force for too long. After all, it consumed too much of her Xian Qi. Her Xian Qi would be exhausted soon. Facing 2 people at the same time, she could only fight and retreat at the same time. Now, Lu Yuan could only place her hope on Yu Qimei. If Yu Qimei could defeat Duan Ye and turn around to help her, then she still had a chance in this round. Unfortunately, the next to decide the winner was Qi Guang and Yu Qimei. Although Qi Guang had been suppressing Yu Qimei all along, Yu Qimei's sudden burst of power released thousands of shadows that were like spider silk, trapping Qi Guang in an instant. Yu Qimei was originally prepared to use this move to kill in all 4 directions. She did not expect Qi Guang to be so strong, forcing her to use this move first to finish off Qi Guang. Qi Guang, who had the upper hand all along, was suddenly trapped by this move. He was like a mosquito trapped in a spider's web, falling into a hopeless situation. The number 1 core disciple of the Rainsword sect, Qi Guang, even if he had the Star Sea sword and the power of the Star Sea law was constantly released, there would still be a time when his Xian Qi would be exhausted. When his offensive weakened, he immediately welcomed Yu Qimei's counterattack. This move is the Thousand Thread Sect's upper spiritual level martial skill, Thousand Thread Net. I did not expect Yu Qimei to be able to cultivate this upper spiritual level martial skill to perfection at the age of 14. This is really shocking. This time, Qi Guang is going to fall. Who told him to not have any defense at all? The tens of thousands of people in the audience all focused their gazes on Qi Guang and Yu Qimei because they knew that the next one to be eliminated would be either Qi Guang or Yu Qimei. As for who it would be, it would depend on whether Qi Guang had a trump card or not. Unfortunately, as a core disciple of the Rainsword sect, Qi Guang had inherited the Rainsword sect's usual style: arrogance, conceit, and condescension. Naturally, he did not have any trump cards. As soon as he got on the stage, he wanted to defeat Yu Qi-mei with lightning speed. However, she caught her breath and seized the opportunity to trap him. "You've lost." Yu Qi-mei's slightly childish face had a touch of determination. She waved her hand, and thousands of black shadows condensed into silk threads that swept towards Qi Guang, who was trapped by the spider, web-like shadows. "I admit defeat." Qi Guang felt that his life was threatened. Even if he was very unwilling, at this moment, he could only admit defeat. He did not expect that, even with the Star Sea Sword, he would lose to a 14-year-old kid. Although this Yu Qi-mei is young, she is extremely strong. It is not wrong for me to lose to her. Chu Chaoxing bet everything on the Thousand Thread sect. How could he not have a trump card? This Yu Qi-mei is one of his trump cards. Thinking of this, Qi Guang felt much better. He only felt a little regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would not have chosen Yu Qi-mei as his opponent. Now, he did not even get a single ranking. What loss? Fortunately, he still had a chance to perform. After the free-for-all stage was the competition between experts. The victors of the first 5 rounds and all the sect disciples of the 6th round could participate. Even if he was eliminated now, he still had a chance to fight again. Qi Guang decisively admitted defeat. Then, without any hesitation, Yu Qi-mei quickly moved towards where Qi Guang was with her childish figure. Who would Yu Qi-mei's next target be? It's the Jintian clan's Qi Guang. Soon, everyone noticed that Yu Qi-mei was attacking Qi Guang, who was fighting fiercely with Duan Ye. Qi Guang and Lu Yuan were suddenly in a predicament of fighting 1 against 2. Is she here? Qi Guang felt the murderous intent behind him, but he did not panic. Instead, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Web of 1,000 threads. Yu Qi-mei's figure was fast, but the shadow he controlled was even faster. In the blink of an eye, it was not far from Qi Guang's feet. It suddenly sprang up and condensed into a giant web of 1,000 threads, trying to trap Qi Guang. The speed at which the web of 1,000 threads appeared was too fast. Even if Qi Guang used the world's end near at hand, he might not be able to completely avoid it. As long as he was touched by the shadow of the web of 1,000 threads, his movements would be greatly affected. Not only that, but the Broken Blade Sect's Duan Ye also seized the opportunity to send out countless blade lights towards Qi Guang. No matter which direction he ran in, he would run into these blade lights. At this critical moment, almost everyone felt that Qi Guang would lose without a doubt. Facing the web of 1,000 threads and countless blade lights, it was like an inescapable net. How could Qi Guang escape? However, at this moment, Qi Guang's figure suddenly and strangely disappeared from where he stood. That's right, without any warning, his figure had completely disappeared from where he stood. In the spectator's stands, Long Yu narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, finally, it has appeared. Qi Guang had already used this move when he was sparring with Qi Guang. It was definitely Qi Guang's trump card. Without a doubt, this was a movement technique. However, Long Yu did not know what rank it was. He only knew that once this move was used, Yu Qi-mei and Duan Ye would not be able to detect Qi Guang's presence based on their martial arts realms. Phantom Shadow Void Steps. Only White Cloud knew the name of this movement martial skill, and its grade, a Transcendent Spirit level martial skill. This move was not a martial skill recorded in the Jintian clan's records. Instead, it was a martial skill that Qi Guang had obtained by chance. Because it was a Transcendent Spirit level martial skill, Qi Guang had spent a lot of effort on it. Now, he had comprehended the Phantom Shadow Void Steps to the Transcendent Realm. He was only 1 step away from entering the Transcendent Realm and reaching the strongest realm. However, even if it was only the Transcendent Realm, it was more than enough to deal with Yu Qi-mei and Duan Ye. Qi Guang's figure suddenly disappeared from the battlefield. Yu Qi-mei and Duan Ye both frowned slightly, but their attacks did not stop. As the web of 1,000 threads rapidly gathered, blade lights descended from all directions. At the same time, the two felt that their martial skills had missed. Qi Guang was really not in the same place. However, in such a situation, Where could that guy go? Suddenly, a hawk's cry came from not far away, followed by a scream. Chapter 208. Yu Xiao, the core disciple of the Hidden Fire Palace, did not expect that Walking could sneak out to attack him when he was surrounded by two people. Walking used the ghost shadow steps and instantly appeared behind Yu Xiao. With a wave of his hand, a whirlwind condensed into a giant spear. It shot out and pierced Yu Xiao's thigh, causing blood to spurt out. Yu Xiao staggered. The arrogant aura of holding the flame banner instantly disappeared. He hurriedly activated his Xian Qi, and two flame wheels appeared under his feet, rolling him far away. This was the Hidden Fire Palace's movement technique, the Spirit Upper Grade Hidden Fire Wheel. If cultivated to the Transcendent Realm, one could even step on the Hidden Fire Wheel to fly. It was one of the Hidden Fire Palace's ultimate skills. After using this movement technique, Yu Xiao was confident that he could escape Walking's pursuit. He would rest for a while and wait for Yu Qimei and Duan Ye to catch up. Walking would definitely not have time to deal with him. However, just as he moved away on the Hidden Fire Wheel, Walking's figure in black tight-fitting clothes suddenly appeared in front of him like a ghost. After comprehending the Transcendent Realm, one could turn into a ghost, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Unless one's martial arts realm was much higher than Walking's, it was impossible to find Walking's traces. Still not admitting defeat, Walking flashed in front of Yu Xiao and backhanded a giant whirlwind spear, piercing through the air towards Yu Xiao's face. Fire Spider's Silk Coil. Yu Xiao skillfully used the Hidden Fire Palace's Spirit Upper Grade martial technique. A series of Fire Spider Silk met the whirlwind spear and attacked. Suddenly, the whirlwind spear and the Fire Spider Silk collided with each other, causing a violent airflow. Sparks flew and the whirlwind scattered. Tying Force. At this moment, Lu Yuan finally seized the opportunity and suddenly released the Tying Force, enveloping Yu Xiao's entire body. Flowing Light Sword Shadow. Lu Yuan turned into a flowing light sword shadow and stabbed at Yu Xiao with a pair of scarlet short swords. Yu Xiao tried his best to dodge, but he could not completely avoid it. The sword's shadow cut his arm, injuring him again. His fighting strength was greatly affected. Even with the flame banner, Yu Xiao would not be able to beat anyone on the field. Under such circumstances, Yu Xiao could only step on the Wheel of Fire with all his might and flee towards the edge of the Forbidden Army's dojo. Bai Linsha, Yu Qimei, and Duan Ye finally caught up to them from three different directions, blocking Bai Linsha and Lu Yuan's path. After that, Bu Ho and Lu Yuan were fighting 2 against 3, and they were at an absolute disadvantage. It was still fine if he walked on foot. With ghostly shadow void steps, he could ensure his own safety while also exhausting his opponent with whirlwind spear. However, Lu Yuan could not hold on much longer. The celestial qi in her body had been greatly depleted. If she wanted to win, she had to quickly find a better opportunity to fight her opponent. Lu Yuan resisted the opponent's attacks with all her strength. Fortunately, Yu Qimei and Duan Ye's attention was mostly on Walking, so Lu Yuan was barely able to hold on. Suddenly, he used the ghostly shadow void steps again and disappeared from everyone's sight. This left Yu Qimei and Duan Ye dumbfounded for a moment. Then, they immediately put up their guard to prevent any sudden sneak attacks. Good chance. Lu Yuan's heart skipped a beat, and she immediately unleashed her Tying Force. Terrifying Earth Seal level nomological power burst forth, enveloping Bai Linsha within it. Afterimage Sword Dance. Murderous intent flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes. A pair of scarlet short swords danced in her hands. She had actually used the Qingcheng Pavilion's trump card, an upper spiritual level martial skill. Afterimage Sword Dance. Bai Linsha's expression changed when she saw this. It was actually this martial skill. Bai Linsha's heart skipped a beat when she saw Lu Yuan's pair of scarlet short swords dancing in the air, creating countless afterimages of swords. It was as if long swords were dancing in the air. The afterimage sword dance required one to control the short swords to attack the target from a distance. Therefore, it was extremely demanding on one's control of celestial qi. In the Qingcheng Pavilion, very few people could cultivate it, even among the elders. Bai Linsha had not expected that Lu Yuan had actually cultivated the afterimage sword dance. This move was extremely fast. Bai Linsha only had a thought in her mind before the pair of scarlet short swords appeared in front of her, leaving afterimages of sword light. Qingcheng dance. At the critical moment, Bai Linsha activated her celestial qi as fast as she could. She used an upper spiritual level movement technique in an attempt to dodge Lu Yuan's move. However, the afterimage sword dance was simply too fast. Furthermore, Bai Linsha was enveloped by the Taiyin force, which greatly reduced her speed. Bai Linsha only felt a pain in her waist. She had actually been cut by the afterimage of the sword light, and a large gash was seeping out of it. She groaned in pain and hurriedly retreated. She still refused to admit defeat. Bai Linsha knew that this was her only chance to defeat Lu Yuan. She could not give up this opportunity. Even if she was injured, she could not leave the arena before Lu Yuan. The opportunity was fleeting. Lu Yuan's attack did not kill Bai Linsha, and she immediately became the target of Yu Qimei. The young man with a childlike face waved his slender fingers, and countless shadow threads were formed, wrapping around Lu Yuan. Whirlwind spear. Suddenly, a whirlwind condensed into a giant spear and appeared in front of Lu Yuan. It instantly tore those shadow threads to pieces. Like a ghost, Bufang split into dozens of clones and appeared in the surroundings at the same time. Each of them formed a whirlwind spear and attacked Yu Qimei and Duan Mie. Ghost Shadow Doppelganger. Bufang's method once again shocked tens of thousands of people, including Long Yu. Even Long Yu did not have a good way to deal with so many Ghost Shadow Doppelganger. Unless he used the Taiyin force and Thunderstorm force to crush them, it would be extremely troublesome. Amazing, many people exclaimed in their hearts. As one of the top 9 young experts of the Tang Empire, Bufang's strength was indeed extraordinary. Raging Flame Explosion. Exploding Flame Earth. At this moment, Yu Xiao, who had finally caught his breath, waved his flame banner and displayed 2 sets of powerful martial techniques. Suddenly, a wave of flames spread toward Bufang's dozens of Ghost Shadow Doppelganger. It could be seen that once Bufang's Ghost Shadow Doppelganger got close to the high-temperature flames, they immediately showed signs of turning illusory. It seemed that they were very afraid of fire. Because of this, Bufang chose to sneak attack Yu Xiao. Unfortunately, he failed to kill him, causing all his efforts to be in vain. The dozens of Ghost Shadow Doppelganger were quickly extinguished by Yu Xiao's flame banner. However, Bufang's real body did not appear. It was obvious that he was using Ghost Shadow Void Steps again. No one knew where he would appear next. Yu Xiao. Yu Qimei and Duan Mie's eyes flickered at the same time. They both guessed that Bufang would definitely choose to sneak attack Yu Xiao. The two of them rushed toward Yu Xiao at the same time. They wanted to stop Bufang's attack the moment he appeared, lest Yu Xiao suffer a calamity. However, as soon as the two of them moved, Bai Linsha, who was on the other side, helplessly admitted defeat. Bufang did not attack Yu Xiao. Instead, he used Ghost Shadow Void Steps to force the isolated and helpless Bai Linsha to admit defeat. Feeling Bufang's murderous aura, Bai Linsha could only admit defeat. Otherwise, in her current state, only death awaited her. Cutting Space Saber Light. Seeing this, Duan Mie's eyes flashed with anger. Bufang actually used Ghost Shadow Void Steps to play him like a monkey. Did he really think that he, Duan Mie, cannot fight back? As Duan Mie roared, the broken saber in his hand slashed down, creating a cutting space saber light. This saber light extended from the broken saber in his hand, but it quickly broke apart and reappeared several dozen feet away. In an instant, it had crossed several dozen feet. Bufang did not even have time to react. The Broken Blade Sect specialty could be summed up in one word: speed. Whether it was martial techniques or nomological laws, They all contained the word speed. This cutting space saber light demonstrated the broken blade sect's speed to the extreme. As the cutting space saber light descended, Bufang subconsciously wanted to use ghost shadow void steps to dodge. However, at that moment, he suddenly felt a sinister aura bursting out of his body. This burst of sinister chi instantly spread throughout his entire body, causing his entire body to feel as if it was paralyzed, unable to move an inch at all. As the cutting space saber light slashed down, blood splattered everywhere. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Bufang's arm was actually cut off by the cutting space saber light. Xiao Bu, in the spectator's stands, Zhong Yunzong immediately stood up and exclaimed. Long Yu and the others also stood up and stared at the scene in disbelief. How could it be? How could Senior Brother Bu's arm be cut off by someone? Although the cutting space saber light was fast, Ghost Shadow Void Steps was not slow either. At least, it was more than enough for him to dodge the cutting space saber light. How could he not dodge it? Xiao Bu's face is blue. He's poisoned. Soon, Zhong Yunzong's face darkened as he saw the key point. Poisoned. Bufang was poisoned during the martial arts competition of the Seven Sects. What was going on? Let him admit defeat. He can still reattach his arm, but if he loses his life, it will be too late. Elder Bai said with a solemn expression. In the Heavenly Mandate continent, losing an arm was indeed not a rare thing. With Elder Bai's alchemy skills, as long as he was given some time, he would definitely be able to restore Bufang's arm. The key point now was to make Bufang admit defeat. However, at that moment, Bufang's face was blue and he could not move at all. He could not even open his mouth to admit defeat. Go to hell. Seeing that his cutting space saber light had cut off Bufang's arm, Duan Mie's face suddenly turned bloodthirsty. He waved the broken saber in his hand, and another cutting space saber light slashed down. At this critical moment, Lu Yuan, who was on the other side, finally reacted. She also saw that something was wrong with Bufang. She immediately performed the body martial arts technique, alluring dance, and danced in front of Duan Mie. Duan Mie was shocked. Then, Lu Yuan's white hair fluttered in the wind. In an instant, she crossed the distance of dozens of feet and came to Bufang's side. She pulled Bufang and took him out of the Imperial Army's martial field. Bufang could not open his mouth to admit defeat. If he wanted to save his life, he could only take him out of the Imperial Army's martial field and admit defeat. Where are you going? Duan Mie, Yu Qi Mei, and Yu Xiao caught up from behind. Whether it was Duan Mie or Yu Qi Mei, they were both faster than Lu Yuan. Tying Force. Lu Yuan released the Tying Law of Heaven and Earth Force. Endless Frost Power blocked the figures of Duan Mie and Yu Qi Mei for a moment. Then, she finally stepped out of the Imperial Army's martial field. So what if I get out? Chapter 209. Lu Yuan led Bu Mie toward the Imperial Army dojo. The moment she stepped out of the dojo, she let out a sigh of relief. However, she never expected that Duan Mie would not let them go. He swung his saber radiance across the air. The saber radiance was extremely fast. By the time Lu Yuan saw it, it was already too late. Reverse scale touch. At that moment, a loud shout came from the side. Following that, a long spear glowing with the color of the netherworld swept over and collided with the saber radiance, shattering it into pieces. Long Yu's figure appeared not far away and stepped forward. Broken Saber Sect, Thousand Thread Sect, you're indeed shameless to use poison in the 7-sect competition. Nice move. Long Yu sneered as he walked forward. His words spread to the surroundings, causing a huge uproar. No wonder Bu Mie was unable to dodge the attack with his ghostly movement technique. He had been poisoned. Using poison in the middle of a competition was truly despicable. Duan Mie was obviously unwilling to accept that he had failed to kill Bu Mie. However, when he saw Long Yu appear, he knew that he would no longer have the chance to kill Bu Mie. Poison? Duan Mie had no idea. He glanced at Bu Mie's ashen face and pondered, before shifting his gaze to Yu Qi Mei, who was still in the dojo. When it came to using poison, the Thousand Thread sect was definitely the best. As expected, the 14-year-old Uchime's childish face revealed a hint of disdain. My Thousand Thread sect is famous for using poison. It's unfair for us to go up to the dojo with you. If we're not allowed to use poison, wouldn't our sect be the weakest? The Thousand Thread sect's poison was indeed famous in the entire Great Tang Empire. However, wasn't it too shameless to use it in the 7-sect competition? Tens of thousands of people in the dojo simultaneously looked at Chu Chaosheng, who was sitting in the spectator area. The left Duke, Chu Chaosheng, who was wearing a golden imperial robe, stood up and calmly said, "Poisoning is a technique that all disciples of the Thousand Thread sect must master. If it is in the wilderness or on the battlefield, no matter what method is used, losing means losing one's life. There is no chance of winning. Thus, the duel continues. Bu Fong and Lu Yuan are eliminated." Many people were filled with righteous indignation when they heard this. This Chu Chaosheng was obviously siding with the Thousand Thread sect, but his words were reasonable, making it impossible for anyone to refute. Everyone in the Jintian clan was furious, but they were suppressed by Bai Zong. Going against Chu Chaosheng now was not a wise choice. The Jintian clan could only swallow this loss. Lu Yuan and Zhang Fu escaped from the Forbidden Army's training field and obtained 2 martial discourse arrows and 3 martial discourse arrows respectively. 2 of them were given to the Jintian clan and 3 to the Qingqing Pavilion. In addition to Bai Lynch's arrow, the Qingqing Pavilion finally had a total of 10 martial arrows. Adding the 2 arrows from the Jintian clan, the total number of martial arrows reached 26, still in the lead. However, there were still 3 people left in the field. They were Duan Mia, Yu Qimei, and Yu Xiao. Yu Xiao was already injured. After Bu Fong and Lu Yuan left the field, he took the initiative to admit defeat and obtained 4 martial discourse arrows for the Hidden Fire Palace. Then Duan Mia took the initiative to admit defeat and obtained 5 martial discourse arrows. Yu Qimei of the Thousand Thread sect was the final winner of this duel. She obtained 6 martial discourse arrows for the Thousand Thread sect, which added up to a total of 26, the same as the Jintian clan. He was only 14 years old, and his childish face had a cold expression as he looked in the direction of the Jintian clan. It was a great loss that he could not kill Bu Fong in this duel. The duel has ended. Next is the duel between the experts. It's a pity that senior brother Bu can't participate. Long Yu brought Lu Yuan and Bu Fong back to the spectator stand of the Jintian clan and said solemnly, "Then we can only rely on you for the next duel." Yeah, senior brother Long Yu. Senior brother Bu was poisoned by that lad from the Thousand Thread sect. It's really infuriating. You must take revenge for senior brother Bu. I believe that senior brother Long Yu can definitely teach those guys a lesson. The disciples of the Jintian clan were filled with righteous indignation as they said angrily, Bu Fong had lost his arm, so he could only receive treatment under the care of old Bai. He could not participate in the duel, so the hope of the Jintian clan rested on Long Yu. "I'll do my best." Long Yu nodded and looked around. He saw Yu Qianing of the Thousand Thread sect. Yu Qianing was looking at him with a cold smile. It was obvious that she was mocking the Jintian clan for overestimating themselves. The 5th stage of the true spirit realm? It's not like I, Long Yu, have never killed such a person before. Long Yu squinted his eyes. There was no need for him to be afraid of Yu Qianing. However, he did not know the rules of the duel. Either way, once Long Yu had the chance to participate, he would not easily forgive those who were against the Jintian clan. The duel has ended. I believe everyone knows the number of martial arrows that each sect has obtained. Chu Chaosheng, who was wearing a golden royal robe, stood up and said with a gratified expression, "The Thousand Thread sect and the Jintian clan have obtained 26 martial arrows each. They are tied for first place. Next, the Frost sect has 17, the Qingqing Pavilion has 10, the Broken Saber sect has 7, the Fire Repository Hall has 6, and the Rainsword sect has 2. This result made the people of the Rainsword sect feel ashamed. After 6 rounds of duels, The Rainsword sect had only obtained 2 martial arrows in the first round. They did not obtain anything in the following rounds. Could it be that the people of the Rainsword sect were really weak? No, that's impossible. The martial competition of the 7 sects was not over yet. As long as there was no final result, everything was still possible. Chu Chaoxing's lips curled upward as he continued. The duel will take place in the next few days, and the rules are simple. Following Chu Chaoxing's explanation, the crowd immediately understood the rules of the duel. The top 7 sects would each choose their strongest disciple, who would be referred to as the challenger. The top 7 sects would have a total of 7 challengers. Each challenger could choose one of the other sects to challenge. In the duel, those who remained standing until the end, as well as the 4th layer True Spirit Realm disciples who participated in the 6th round, would become the defenders. The goal of the challenger was to defeat all the defenders of the sect, and if they succeeded, they would be able to obtain all the martial arrows of the sect. Just like the free-for-all phase, each round of the competition between experts would be held 2 days apart and would last for about half a month. The order of the 7 challengers would be decided by drawing lots. Under such rules, there was no doubt that only the strongest person would be able to obtain all the martial arrows. However, it was extremely difficult to obtain the martial arrows of the other sections. The challenger had to defeat all the defenders in order to be considered successful, and the defenders were experts who stood out in every duel. If I were to challenge the disciples of the Fire Concealment Palace and the Broken Saber sect, I could easily succeed. However, each challenger can only challenge once, so I have to choose my target carefully, Long Yu thought to himself as he looked in the direction of the Thousand Thread sect. If he wanted to challenge the Thousand Thread sect, his main opponents would be Yu Qimei and Yu Qianing. If the two of them joined hands, their strength would be too terrifying. Apart from Long Yu, perhaps no one else would choose to challenge the Thousand Thread sect. However, Long Yu had sufficient confidence in this. His target was the Thousand Thread sect. If he were to succeed, he would be able to obtain all 26 martial arrows of the Thousand Thread sect, and the Jintian clan had a high chance of winning. Of course, the premise was that Long Yu could defend all 26 martial arrows of the Jintian clan. Since he had lost an arm, he couldn't participate in the duel. The Jintian clan only had enough fighting strength left, and that was Long Yu. If someone were to challenge the Jintian clan, as long as they defeated Long Yu, they would be able to obtain all 26 martial arrows of the Jintian clan. It could be said that Long Yu is the key to this duel. Soon, the 7 sects selected their challengers and went up to draw lots. The Jintian clan's challenger was Long Yu, and the Thousand Thread sect's Yu Qianing. Other than them, there were Yu Shao from the Fire Concealment Palace, Duan Mie from the Broken Saber sect, Qi Guang from the Falling Rainsword sect, Bai Lin Sha from the Alluring Pavilion, and Ouyang Ming from the Ice sect. The result of the draw was out very quickly. The first to challenge 2 days later was the Fire Concealment Palace's disciple, Yu Shao. Following him were Duan Mie from the Broken Saber sect, Bai Lin Sha from the Alluring Pavilion, Ouyang Ming from the Ice sect, and Qi Guang from the Falling Rainsword sect. Long Yu was the second from the bottom, and the Thousand Thread sect's Yu Qianing was the last to challenge. What a good trick, letting Yu Qianing go last. No matter how the battle turned out, as long as Yu Qianing picked the sect with the most martial arrows, she would be able to snatch the martial arrow easily, allowing the Thousand Thread sect to take first place in the duel. Long Yu saw through Chu Chaoxing's methods with a single glance. The order of the challenges was obviously tampered with, but it didn't matter. Long Yu was confident that he could defeat Yu Qianing, so he wouldn't mind the unfair order. Before Yu Qianing made her move, he would first snatch the martial arrow from the Thousand Thread sect. Long Yu wanted to see if Yu Qianing still had the guts to challenge the Jintian clan after losing to him. After the Jintian clan returned to their residence, Old Bai started to refine pills for Bu Fu, so the two of them couldn't appear in the Imperial Army martial field anymore. On the second day, it was time for the first round of experts, Yu Shao's challenge. The crowd rushed to the Imperial Army martial field anxiously, and the news they received was just as they expected. Yu Shao had chosen to challenge the Jintian clan. Tens of thousands of people's gazes were focused on the Jintian clan. Brother Long, are we going to go up? On the Jintian clan's spectator stand, Feng Haofeng asked in a serious tone. In this battle, Yu Xiao had challenged the Jintian clan, which was obviously bullying Bu Fu, who had lost an arm and had no backbone. He also wanted to see Long use true strength. Under such circumstances, it didn't seem appropriate to let Long Yu fight alone, right? No need. No matter who dares to challenge the Jintian clan, I will fight alone. After saying this, Long Yu's figure moved, and he stood on the Imperial Army's training ground. He was prepared to face the strongest core disciples of the Great Tang Kingdom's 7 major sects alone. Chapter 210. With the anticipation of the Jintian clan, Long Yu stepped onto the stage and faced Yu Xiao alone. Yu Xiao looked at the third-ranked true spirit realm kid walking onto the stage alone and could not help but sneer. Brat, do you really think you have some ability? You actually chose to face me alone. I'll let you know that this is the worst decision you've ever made in your life. Long Yu entering the stage alone clearly showed that he did not put Yu Xiao in his eyes. After resting for 2 days, Yu Xiao's injuries from the previous round had healed. Now that he was back to his peak condition, why would he be afraid of a mere third-ranked true spirit realm Long Yu? Of course, Yu Xiao also knew that Long Yu was not weak, or rather, very strong. Anyone in the third-rank true spirit realm would be like paper in front of Long Yu. However, Yu Xiao was in the 4th-rank true spirit realm. After condensing the true spirit into a physical body, Yu Xiao knew how huge the difference was. After Long Yu entered the stage, he heard Yu Xiao's words and ignored him. He held the 9 nether dragon spear tightly and moved the spear tip towards Yu Xiao. Let's fight. In Long Yu's eyes, Yu Xiao was already a dead man, so there was no need to talk nonsense with him. You asked for it. Yu Xiao coldly snorted as he raised the flame banner in his hand and prepared for battle. His disdain towards Long Yu was one thing, but when the real battle was about to begin, he had put in 120,000 thoughts. The tens of thousands of people around the Imperial Army Marshall Field became alert as they carefully watched the battle. Most people did not expect that the Jintian clan's Long Yu would fight alone. Although Long Yu's performance in the chaotic battle was eye-catching, he was still only in the 3rd-ranked true spirit realm. The gap between him and Yu Xiao, who was in the 4th-ranked true spirit realm, was definitely not small. This Long Yu actually dared to fight alone. Could it be that he was really that powerful? Chu Chaoxing, who was sitting in the spectator stands, looked at the arena indifferently. However, one could see a trace of playfulness in his eyes. Of course, he knew that Long Yu was not afraid of Yu Xiao. However, through Yu Xiao, he might be able to dig out more of Long Yu's secrets. The battle soon began. Heaven Suppressing Domain. Long Yu released his Heaven Suppressing Domain, and with the 9 nether dragon spear in hand, he executed the Heaven Suppressing Spear art, condensing layers of spear shadows that stabbed towards Yu Xiao. Yu Xiao waved the flame banner, completely disregarding the layers of spear shadows. Fire of 3 spirits. Yu Xiao quickly executed a medial grade spirit, grade martial technique of the Hidden Fire Palace. 3 clumps of flames split into 3 directions and headed for Long Yu. As for Long Yu's spear images, they were actually blocked by Yu Xiao's flame banner. As a transcendent grade spirit grade combat weapon, the flame streamer was extremely sturdy. Long Yu relied on his cultivation of rank 3 true spirit realm to execute the heaven-suppressing spear art of upper mortal grade. Even with the 9 nether dragon spear in hand, it was impossible for him to destroy the flame streamer. However, facing Yu Xiao's fire of 3 spirits, Long Yu did not pay much attention. He waved the 9 nether dragon spear in his hand and shattered the 3 clumps of flames with 3 puff 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 sounds. Through this short test, Long Yu had a rough idea of Yu Xiao's strength and instantly had a murderous intent. Once he figured out his opponent, he had nothing to worry about. He had already killed a rank 4 true spirit realm cultivator a long time ago, so he did not feel any pressure facing Yu Xiao. Nine Nether Dragon Fist. Long Yu threw a punch, and the nine Nether Chi transformed into the Yellow Springs path, extending toward Yu Xiao. Yu Xiao felt a strange aura coming towards him and subconsciously waved the flame banner to block it. However, he suddenly realized that his body was bound by an invisible force, the spirit of Yellow Springs. Long Yu only needed one move to completely restrain Yu Xiao's entire person. Kill! Long Yu punched the ground, and the nine Nether explosive flow instantly burst out, enveloping Yu Xiao, who was unable to move. In the next moment, Yu Xiao's meridians were corroded by the nine Nether Chi, and he died. To deal with Yu Xiao, Long Yu only used one move to test his strength, and then killed him with a punch. When the nine Nether pillar of Qi dissipated, what appeared in front of everyone was a corpse. Yu Xiao, without any ability to resist, was killed by Long Yu with a single punch. The flame banner was still intact. With Long Yu's martial arts realm, even if he used the nine Nether explosive flow, he would not be able to destroy a transcendent spirit-level combat weapon. This showed how sturdy the flame banner was. No one saw that just before the nine Nether pillar of Qi dissipated, Long Yu's figure flashed, and he quietly stored the flame banner into the nine Nether space. This Long Yu killed Yu Xiao with a single punch. Am I seeing things? You're right. I didn't expect this Long Yu to be able to kill a rank 4 True Spirit Realm expert, even though he's only at the rank 3 True Spirit Realm. He's really extraordinary. The Jintian clan disciple is really unexpected. It's a pity that Thousand Thread Sex Yu Qianing is definitely the strongest in this martial competition of the seven sects. No matter how strong this Long Yu is, it's impossible for him to fight against Yu Qianing, who's at the rank 5 True Spirit Realm, right? That's not necessarily true. I heard that the Wang family's housekeeper, Gu Hibo, led a group of people to surround and kill Long Yu, but they all disappeared. Gu Hibo is a rank 5 True Spirit Realm expert. He's definitely stronger than Yu Qianing, I'm afraid. Afraid my ass. That Gu Hibo was obviously ambushed. Don't forget, Wang Ju wanted to kill Long Yu, and someone even injured Wang Ju. Tens of thousands of people discussed, completely overshadowing the Jintian clan's cheers. Although the Jintian clan had expected Long Yu to win, they didn't expect him to win so easily, killing Yu Xiao with a single punch. In this way, the Hidden Fire Temple had suffered a heavy loss. The Hidden Fire Temple's spectator stand was dead silent. The temple master, Hua Haishan, had a face full of anger. He didn't expect that when he sent Yu Xiao out to test Long Yu, he would be killed by Long Yu with a single punch. He really didn't have the slightest ability to resist. It was obvious that this Long Yu was taking revenge for his senior brother Fu. Although Fu wasn't injured by the Hidden Fire Temple's people, it was still related to Yu Xiao. Where's the flame pennant? Hua Haishan suddenly thought of something and took a closer look. He suddenly realized that the flame pennant wasn't beside Yu Xiao's body and couldn't help but frown. How is this possible? He stood up and shouted sternly, "How dare you, Long Yu? You killed my Hidden Fire Temple's people and even dared to steal my Hidden Fire Temple's combat weapon. Quickly hand over the flame pennant." In the seven-sect martial symposium, killing was allowed, but stealing a combat weapon was not. However, who saw Long Yu take away the flame pennant? Temple Master Hua, you can't speak carelessly. Which eye of yours saw me take away the flame pennant? Long Yu stood beside Yu Xiao's body and sneered. Where could I hide such a huge flame pennant? I can only say that the flame pennant's grade is too low. I actually smashed it into pieces with a single punch. Hua Haishan almost spat out a mouthful of blood when he said this. The supreme spiritual grade flame pennant could be said to be the Hidden Fire Temple's strongest combat weapon, but Long Yu actually said that its grade was too low. How shameless was Long Yu? But this matter was too strange. Did Long Yu really make the flame pennant disappear with a single punch? Many people present, including Hua Haishan and Chu Chaosheng, were secretly guessing. Could it be that Long Yu had a hidden space combat weapon? But very quickly, these people denied this guess. Space combat weapons were too rare. Even the Great Tang Empire's Chu clan only had 3 space combat weapons that could be used to store things. The General Clan, Long Clan, Xiong Clan, and Mo Clan each had one. As for the other clans and sects, they did not have any. No one would believe that Long Yu had a space combat weapon. But what about the flame pennant? Hua Haishan could not answer this question no matter how he thought about it. And it was impossible for him to really search Long Yu's body. In today's battle, the Jintian clan's core disciple, Long Yu, has opened everyone's eyes. However, indiscriminately killing people in the seven-sect martial competition is not in line with the seven-sect martial competition's purpose. Chu Chaoxing stood up, looked at Long Yu, and said indifferently, Yu Xiao is an elite of the Hidden Fire Temple, and also an elite of the Great Tang Empire. It's too much of a pity for him to die like this. Long Yu, if you kill people again, I will disqualify you from participating in the seven-sect martial competition. The moment these words came out, the Jintian clan was immediately filled with righteous indignation. Why could the Broken Blade sect and Thousand Thread sect kill Yu Xiao? But Long Yu killed Yu Xiao, so Chu Chaoxing blamed him. Moreover, Long Yu was only at the third level of the true spirit realm. If he did not use his full strength, how could he face an expert at the fourth level of the true spirit realm? He had to restrain himself during battle to prevent himself from killing his opponent. This restriction was too great. All right, unexpectedly, Long Yu nodded his head in agreement, but then he said, But Left Wanya, if someone wants to kill me first, I will not show mercy. Of course, Chu Chaoxing could not go too far in front of tens of thousands of people, so he could only agree with Long Yu. However, how could he say that he wanted to kill Long Yu so clearly? Anyway, Chu Chaoxing had made up his mind that if Long Yu killed people again, he would disqualify Long Yu from participating in the competition. He still could not see through this kid, so it was too dangerous to let him continue like this. However, Long Yu also jumped. It wouldn't be long before someone came to take his life. Besides that, Left Prince, the duel between the experts of the seven-sect martial competition doesn't seem to take much time. Why don't we not wait for 2 days? Why don't we end it today? Long Yu raised his head and looked at Chu Chaoxing, who was in the spectator area. His words carried an overbearing tone. Many people were shocked when they heard this. This Long Yu actually dared to negotiate with Chu Chaoxing to change the rules of the seven-sect martial competition? However, if the experts really fought on the same day, it would undoubtedly be much more interesting. Otherwise, it would be too troublesome to have 2 days between each battle. Chu Chaoxing did not expect Long Yu to raise such a condition and could not help but narrow his eyes. After pausing for a breath of time, Chu Chaoxing nodded his head playfully. All right, then we will do as you say. This stage of the seven-sect martial competition will be finished in one go today. This decision was completely unexpected. Next, Yu Xiao's challenger was the Broken Blade sect's Duan Mia, the black-robed Broken Blade swordsman who had cut off his arm. Seeing Chu Chaoxing nod in agreement, Long Yu looked in the direction of the Broken Blade sect and gave Duan Mia a provocative look, as if to say, Duan Mia, do you dare to challenge my Jintian clan? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.